It is time for the Drew Yari Show. Drew Yari.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Friday as we're recording. Welcome to the show, episode 190, apparently. 10 shy of 200. I'm the host. You already know who I am. I'm Drew. With me is the host of many shows, Garden of Doom, Hammerlock Hangover, Popular Review. He's also part of our Patreon show on the Patreon channel for me, my Patreon channel, which is called From Our Lips to Your Ears. Mr. Jeff Lippman. Matter of fact, let me try and top John Draper. Mr. Jeff Lippity Lippman.
I don't know that anyone can really top John Draper, but that was a pretty good effort. So, hello, Drew. Hello, Drew Universe.
Drew Universe. The DYU, the Drew Yari Universe.
Wow, yeah, that's good. You should make up shirts, DYU.
Fuck yeah, take that, Marvel.
That's right.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. My air conditioning was actually busted most of the week.
Oh, no.
But they came out and they fixed it today. They thought they fixed it a few days ago. We all did. But they didn't. Not really anyone's fault. Just, well, maybe it was. I don't know. But it's working now, and I'm very happy. So air conditioning's back. Planning to see Black Widow tomorrow night. For both AEW and Smackdown. So, yeah, everything's pretty good.
That sounds good. I
got to a little Twitter war with NWA, as usual.
Yeah, because I know how much you love NWA.
I actually sort of do. Like, I want to, but, like, it's whack, you know?
Yeah, like, I gave it a chance whenever they came back 2 years ago, and then, you know, unfortunately COVID happened, and, you know, a lot of their, I don't want to say top stars, but I guess they're more interesting characters, you know, went elsewhere, like, you know, Ricky Starks, Kingston, you know. Rosa's still there, but I think it's only a matter of time before Rosa, you know, signs with AEW.
Faux show.
Faux show. But yeah, it's just like, from what I see on NWA, it's just mainly Nick Aldis. And that's really about it. I mean, Aaron Stevens, okay. Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah.
I was going to call her, is it Camila? Camille, there you go. Yeah, it's just like
Tyrus,
Mickey James, and I love Mickey James, but it's just like, you know, when they announce, you know, the all-women pay-per-view of NWA, I'm just like, eh.
The funny thing is that they're not even really all in on that. They make it sound like they are, but if you look, the Empower pay-per-view is one night, and then it's NWA 73 the next night in the same facility, which is called the Chase Park Plaza, which I guess is a historic hotel with supposedly a wrestling history to it. I don't know that it is or it isn't, but it's part of the Royal Sonesta chain now, so obviously whatever historic connotations there is really just the land that it sits on, because it's a completely different hotel. So they're in a ballroom. I checked today. The maximum capacity is 2,000. So you figure that there's a ring in the middle and ramps and, you know, things like that. It's, you know, and commentary that, you know, it's probably 1,500 or, you know, whatever, 1,600 max capacity. But one night is the Empower. Second night is 73. I don't know for sure, but I bet people it's buy one, you know, you buy one, you get 2 tickets, you buy one, you get both pay-per-views, which isn't a bad deal. It's just sort of might be an artificial pop. Then again, if they only sell 450 pay-per-views like they did last time, it would be really deflating.
Has NWA, have they let fans back in to their studio arena, whatever you want to call it?
I don't think so. I've watched 2 of the last 3 shows, but I have to be honest, and this is part of my little ongoing little tiff with them, is that I fell asleep during 2 of them, and they run between 6 and 7 at night, Eastern time, so it's not exactly like it's on late. It's just been boring, brother. I mean, there was one show where they had one match that was called off because Nick Aldis, I guess, wouldn't let his guys fight or something like that. And then so then Austin Idol comes out with Tyrus. Austin Idol talks for a long time, says nothing, takes a long time saying nothing, but basically they call out Pope. You know, Tyrus is out there ready. Pope comes out, and they just walk away, and they're like, nope. So, you know, I mean, that's a classic heel tactic, except you have back-to-back segments where there's a non-match, and that was like 15 minutes, because Austin Idol takes a really long time to get nowhere. And, like, they're still doing Thunder Rosa is a heel in NWA, or sort of a heel. She's with Melina, who's sort of a heel, and, you know, they're still doing, like, from season 1, the are we not on the same page thing. And Taryn Terrell is the face, who is also not another youngster, though. I mean, she looks terrific. And Smiley Kylie Ray, who's quit every promotion that she's been with, is their face, and her character is so awkward. But like I never really dug her character to begin with. But you know, she quits AEW, she quits Impact, she does this, she does that. You know, she's retired, she hasn't retired. She's retired, she hasn't retired. I mean, you know, if I'm gonna call out Leo Rush for that, I'm gonna call out Kylie Ray for it too. I mean, I have to be consistent.
I mean, you might want to throw ACH in there as well. Don't forget about him.
That is true. I have actually said it about ACH as well. I will distinguish that I think that ACH is actually dealing with stuff and knows it and tries to get help. Now, I don't know that that's not the case for Leo Rush and Kylie Ray, but it seems more like they blame others or deny things, while ACH seems to be pretty forward about it and trying to deal with it. So I don't give him the same level of shit. And that's how I justify it not being the same energy in my mind. But you're right, fair enough. He's been in and out of wrestling, you know, the last 3 years as well.
Right, and you know what you just said. I kind of knew, you know, with ACH, you know, because if anyone remembers, you know, about a year and a half ago, you know, there was a whole thing with him in NXT, and you know, the whole thing with the shirt, and
yep,
you know, calling WWE racist, blah blah blah. And see, I mean, genuinely, you want the guy to get the help he needs, because he really seems like he needs help, and you know, mental health is nothing to really joke about. So I mean, I hope he gets better. But yeah, with NWA, pretty much everything you mentioned, it just kind of makes me go, so I shouldn't watch?
I mean, I think everyone should make their own decision. It looks like the Empower is not going to be sort of the Starfest that people were expecting. And Mickey James, her line now is, I'm not doing that because that's what people would have expected me to do, and that would have been easy. Translation, you know, they said no, nobody's available, nobody's being allowed to perform outside their contracts, and or we don't have the budget to pay for, you know, a Trish Shurlita or whomever. Then people, you know, or Jacqueline, or, you know, whoever you might want to be sort of your top card or just your draws, even if they're not performing. So it seems like it's going to be sort of like an indie female all-star show, which is fine if you follow a lot of indies and know who these women are. And there's probably a fair amount of people that do and will get a kick out of it. But we only have one person announced so far who's apparently St. Louis is her home base. So, you know, I mean, I wouldn't pay to see a pay-per-view indie show. I didn't pay to see Evolution. I didn't have the WWE Network at the time. You know, I don't mind women's wrestling, and some of it I like, and I'm learning to like it more and more, but it's still not really my thing. You know, I'm an old fuck. I still want my big muscle guys, you know, that, you know, or my giant fat guys. Or like really weird characters like the Missing Link or something, you know, stuff like that. That's what I want. I want it to be like freak show, comic books, horror movies, you know, in the ring. That's what I want. So, you know, I don't know that's for me, but I paid for the last NWA pay-per-view, and I paid for it emotionally as well. I mean, it was an awful, screwy finish where Nick Aldis basically got himself disqualified by hitting the ref with a chair, which, in 1982 on a house show in the Omni, you could get away with that and make the crowd angry. But in 2021, when you're having people pay 20 or 25 bucks, whatever it was, you just can't do that. There's one thing about nostalgia and ambiance. There's another thing to just be copping out, on stuff. That's you just can't do that these days in a pay-per-view. There's too many options. It costs too much. Nick Aldis shouldn't be having that much trouble with Trevor Murdoch if he's been their champion for 1,000 days now.
Right. I mean, going back to pay-per-views, I've never paid for a pay-per-view in my life. Like, not once. Because
wow.
Because I remember my dad, back in the day, he bought, what was called the Hot Box, which was, I guess the equivalent to nowadays, a jailbroken, cable box that, had all the pay-per-views, had all the movies, porn. But yeah, not that I ever watched that, because I'm a good boy. But yeah, it had, the wrestling pay-per-views, and, I would watch the shit out of that. And again, never paid for a pay-per-view, and even when I didn't have, said hot box, I would, find ways. I would stream it. I would, go on, illegally streaming websites that, would show the pay-per-views for free. And then, the WWE Network came in, so it's just like, okay, $9.99 a month for, pay-per-views for free? Cool.
I paid for every AEW pay-per-view except for 3 of them. One of them, I paid $20 to go to a restaurant that was showing it. So, well, actually $20 for me and Rib. So basically I paid for it. One of them I attended live. So I paid for, tickets, floor seats, in fact. And then the most recent one, after the Exploding Fizzle, I said, there's no way I'm going to buy this next one. And I didn't.
I, again, never paid for an AEW pay-per-view for obvious reasons. I had a site for it, because I mentioned to you before, I think I mentioned to you that I was going to try and watch the Ring of Honor pay-per-view, but the site that I've been using to watch, a lot of the pay-per-views, was down for whatever reason, so I couldn't watch it. So that's how I was watching the AEW pay-per-views, with that site. I might, and this is a big might, I might pay for All Out. That's a big might.
Like this. I know, but I like this growth. This is, you would not have even thought of that a few weeks ago.
Right, and, this might be, I'm going to have to just be honest here. I liked the AEW show from the other night. I liked Fyter Fest Night 1. It was not terrible.
There's nothing to be ashamed about. AEW has a lot of really good stuff. It also has a lot of really bad stuff, and it has a fair amount of really blah stuff. But what it suffers from mostly, because that's no different than a percentage of any wrestling show. MLW, love 50% of it, can't stand 50% of it. WWE, tonight was hot with the crowd, but even after the initial enthusiasm, it was basically just a Smackdown with the exception of the opening match. WWE, Raw, maybe after watching it, I thought maybe 35 minutes of it was entertaining. In hindsight, it was probably closer to like an hour and 20 minutes, but it was mostly on the back end, so I was so angry about the first end that I really couldn't enjoy myself. Point being is that what AEW really suffers most from is that they don't have an editor, and they get so many bodies on TV that everything seems like a cluster and overbooked. And I keep saying this wherever I go, and I have no proof of it, but nothing else makes sense other than that all the people they have are paid on TV appearance. And that's why they get them all on there. So that when they said everyone's going to be paid WWE scale, that's how they justify it, and that's how they make good on it. So they shove as many on TV as they possibly can.
And one of AEW's many problems, just stems from, they're all about, we're going to give everybody a chance here. And it's like, we barely see MJF wrestle. We barely see a guy like, Hobbs wrestle, who, is actually very good. But we see more of, the Young Bucks. We see more of, just terrible, shitty wrestlers like, Marco Stunt gets more TV time, which lately he hasn't, so that's good. And I understand you can't use everybody in one night, but it's just like, that's the one advantage I can say AEW has had over NXT whenever they were on the same night, is that AEW puts out their stars, quote unquote. NXT at the end of the day is, developmental, and I guess we can jump into the AEW show.
Sure.
Again, AEW Fighter Fest was this Wednesday. Night 2 is going to be next week. They were in They were in Austin, Texas. So
yeah, they were your state.
State of Texas. The fans are hot, which I think that's what part of the reason why I enjoyed it, because the fans are white hot for literally everything they had to do. And
they were. The crowd was great, and the crowd was great tonight in Houston also. In fairness, so Texas is representing well.
Right, exactly. Go hook 'em horns. But one thing I'll say about AEW that they've been doing less of is like the 1,000 tag team matches that are on each show, and not every match needs to be the main event of WrestleMania. And I mean, in this case, Fyter Fest, I guess, is an unofficial pay-per-view event, whatever you want to call it. So of course, they're going to have big matches. So the best matches are going to be the best matches. The main event's going to be the main event. But yeah, like, they're not doing like the 1,000 tag team matches per show, which is good. Yes. I got the card up on Bleacher Report. You got Jon Moxley defending the IWGP United States Championship against Carl the Machine Gun Anderson. I didn't think the match was bad. It was actually pretty decent for a Jon Moxley match. Carl Anderson as the Machine Gun, I didn't get it. I didn't get what all the hubbub was about. I mean, he's not bad, but it's just like, what's so impressive about him as the Machine Gun?
I'm trying a new thing, and I'm trying to say the positive first, and then my criticism, so people know that I do have positive things. First, I do think it's neat that another promotion's title is being defended on AEW primetime, cable television. I think that's cool. And I think that, that it's going to be defended again seemingly next week, is interesting. And it may mean that the New Japan relationship with AEW is what people were hoping it was, which I've been very skeptical about and dubious about, and I'm still not exactly sold on it. I was really afraid they were going to have this match be 20-25 minutes. It was only like 14 minutes, including the introductions, so no complaints there. Like you said, the match was good. It was fine. It's just there was zero chance that Carl Anderson was winning, so there was no investment. And listen, I know Carl Anderson has a history in New Japan. I know Lance Archer has a history in New Japan. That said, Carl Anderson hasn't wrestled in Japan for over 4.5 years. He hasn't really even wrestled under the New Japan banner at all. I guess technically until Wednesday night. I know him and Gallows are going to be on New Japan Strong, which is taped in California. Now, whether that was pre-taped already or whether it's going to be taped in the future, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure they haven't been on it before, because I don't watch it, but I follow the cards. I like to see who's on there because there's people from different promotions, MLW, the various championship wrestlings of wherever, sort of franchises, Ring of Honor, etc. So it's kind of cool. But so that was cool. Now what's the bad? Carl Anderson, what's his singles record again? Probably like 0-7. What's his record in New Japan in the last 4.5 years? Well, 0-0. I mean, so what has he done to earn a title shot of what's supposed to be a prestigious title? Nothing. So I'm not a match guy, so the fact that the match was good and Carl Anderson is a good wrestler does very little for me except make me go, okay, it's fine. It wasn't the worst, 12 minutes of my life. But if there's no story, and there wasn't, and there's no chance that Carl Anderson's going to win, and there wasn't, and he doesn't have a personality, and he doesn't. And I don't care about the Good Brothers. Never did, never will.
Thank you.
And then I wasn't particularly interested. But it did what it was supposed to do, and it wasn't painful. So hey, Moxley looked good. He finally shaved the head. He stopped fighting the hairline thing. Good for him. It looked like maybe he did some curls and tricep presses while he was away. So yeah, that's cool. But yeah, it was fine. I had no issue with it. Just I never really bought into the premise.
How sad is it that with this Forbidden Door, deal with Impact, that the Good Brothers are the only ones that appear, and you don't see Moose, you don't even see Rich Swann, you don't see. Well, I mean, Sami Callihan came out for like a cup of coffee, but
No, he didn't.
Well, he came out at the end of a match, right?
Nope.
What happened?
Never once. Sami Callihan's never appeared on AEW TV, not on TNT anyway. Maybe on one of the YouTube shows.
Are you sure? Because I could have sworn I saw him come out.
Nah, that might have been me. Just another short, fat guy.
Okay.
With meaty arms.
with giant, what is it? What Jerry
with ham spirals. Right? With spiraled hams. It's getting more and more like Capicola rather than Boar's Head every day.
It's like you're just going to rip ham off your arms and throw them at people. Get hammed!
Throw them at people. I'm going to put on bread and eat. What are you talking about?
Oh, Jesus.
The sad thing is I have two 35-pound dumbbells, like, not 10 feet away from me. I mean, I could literally do curls all day long. It's just like, I just don't.
You're, like, in, like, really insane shape because, like, and I don't take this the wrong way, from an outsider's perspective, you look kind of like a hefty guy, but then I see you in pictures, and I'm like, this motherfucker's in shape. Like, this motherfucker looks like he can fuck people up.
I was. During college, I graduated high school very small, very skinny, and with a pot belly. So it was the worst of all worlds. In college, I really bore down on it. True story, I was 1 degree of separation of getting steroids from Scott Hall because my dealer bought them from Scott Hall. And so I did steroids for a couple of years, broke those genetics, got big. I also turned orange and got like water blisters all over the place and decided that was probably not a great idea. And then when I went to law school, I probably went crazy with the gym in the year after as well. And then, I don't know, I just got sort of big and meaty and so I would take 3 or 4 years off, then I would exercise for a year, then I'd take, 10 years off, then I would exercise for 10 years. Anyway, long and the short of it is in my late 40s, all of a sudden, I got some great deal, like $99 for Planet Fitness. I had a job that allowed me a lot of freedom, and so I could go, all the time. I became friendly with some of the, stronger guys in the place. They took a liking to me, and I never worked out with them, but I was adjacent to them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, everything, it just got easy. I bought creatine powder from Aldi, chocolate shake stuff. Right. And that shit must have worked because I got really big and really strong, in 2 or 3 years. I was stronger than I was at 26 years old at 48 or 49. I was doing shrugs with 365 pounds, and I benched 285 for the first time in my life, and I was pretty sure I could have done 300. Never did it. Because then I got lazy, and then COVID hit, and then I had an excuse to be lazy, and so now it migrates south. But when you get thick and meaty, you sort of stay thick and meaty for a while, and it doesn't take a long time to fool anyone. But I'm not in shape. I'm in terrible shape. I'm in the shape of a pear. But if someone if it was important and someone gave me 6 months, I could get strong again. But I would never look like I'm in shape. I probably look like a smaller version of Otis.
I know. I've always said you kind of remind me of a Beast from the X-Men.
Blue. No, I'd be a smaller version of a Otis Bronson Reed type. Smaller. Let's put it this way. I'm better. I'm in better shape than Evil Uno. I'm very similar to Kevin Owens, but right now his arms are probably better. But if I gave it 3 months, my arms would be the same as his, or bigger.
No, I like Beast better because, you have a very you have kind of a very scrappy, intimidating look, but you're very soft spoken. You're very intelligent. You speak well.
Like, I like that.
I just imagine at your house, upside down, reading books on English literature, and that, like Beastie, you see me come in. Hello, Drew. Salutations.
You know what? There was a time that you weren't that far off, except for the hanging upside down. But it's funny that you say that because I live in Baltimore. I live in the county, but I lived in the city, and basically when I lived in the city, it was during law school, so it was during my beefy times. But even but I'm still beefy, and I'm still white, and I still wear my hair short on the sides and back, a little longer on the top sometimes. I don't shave. The point being is that wherever I go, even if it's someplace that air quotes, I shouldn't be, people think I'm a cop. So it's like everything goes right. And if I'm someplace that I should be, and it still works. It's like I'm either I'm invisible, or it's just like I can sort of be anywhere. But my girlfriend La Sicaria, she goes to the Latin stores, and the Latin stores, they have all sorts of things that you can't get in other places, and they won't sell anything to her when I'm in there with her. And so she makes me go outside, and I go outside, and I take a little walk, and then they sell her whatever she wants, as if I was a cop, if that would stop me from doing it. But we had a guy come in and do some sheet rock wall or whatever it's called. I'm not a very handy guy, but to do some wall work, like some paint, and then patch up some holes and whatever. And he didn't finish the job. He wasn't supposed to, but someone else was supposed to do it, but they didn't. He was just doing patchwork. So we called him to come back, and he wouldn't come back. He told her he thought he was a cop, and I was going to arrest him because he was illegal. She's a cop.
Now I got the image of you in a long sports coat with a toothpick, and you're just flipping a quarter or something.
Yeah, a gumshoe.
You just walk into the store. It's like, this is a nice place you got here. It'd be a shame if something happens to it.
Yeah, a 2/3 empty bottle of cheap whiskey in my hand at all times.
Jesus.
Crumpled up pack of Marlboros.
All right, let's move the show. This show is going off the rails.
Yeah, this is more like the from Drew's lips to your ears.
Pretty much. You're getting 2 for 1 here, people. Anyways, next match: Brian Cage, Ricky Starks for the FTW Championship. Ricky Starks wins. He's now the new FTW champion, whatever that means. During the match, Hook distracted the ref while Willie Hobbs hit Brian Cage. So
with the belt.
With the belt, there you go. So now there's Mutiny in Team Taz, Jeff. Mutiny. So Brian Cage is now on his own. I guess he's going to be a new, hot baby face, whatever you want to call it. So. Yeah.
Sure. We could see this coming for months. I am the originator of the hashtag Fire Taz movement, which really never made it all that far, but should have, because he's terrible. So first of all, the swerve was not unexpected. In fact, it was expected, but the way they executed it was good. It was clever. It was well done. Especially since Starks was going to hit Cage with the belt and Hobbs interceded. So, that sort of was a little bit of a swerve right there, and then Hook did the distraction, and Hobbs in fact hit Cage with the belt. So cool, that was good. But let's break it down a little bit. A faction retained its own fake, unsanctioned title that was already within the faction and lost their strongest member, and that's considered a victory. So hashtag Fire Taz.
Well said. I couldn't said it any better. Next, you have Cody Rhodes calls out Malachi Black. Cody coming out looking like a 1970s Southern preacher, calling out the evil Malachi Black for attacking him and or attacking Arn Anderson mainly.
Who also looked like a 1900s Southern preacher.
See. Oh man, this feud, I swear.
Just one is Baptist and one is evangelical, but it's like spy versus spy. I love the white suit versus the black suit thing. I don't care. I love it.
I think we like it for the wrong reasons because they're trying to push it in their direction, but we're looking at it as like, yeah, Cody is clearly trying to come out and say, with the power of Christianity, I can get rid of the evil Malachi Black. And then Malachi Black is just like coming out and still doing his failed WWE character where he's just telling a story about a guy who killed his horse. Which
you just stop right there because his gimmick wasn't found.
I liked the promo. I'm not saying it was a bad promo. I'm saying the gimmick was interesting, and he only came out for one night, and then they just fired him. So it was a failed. Yeah, it was a failed WWE gimmick, and now he's kind of picking up where he left off because he said before, this is who he wanted to be in NXT, but Triple H, said, nah, you're better off as a face.
Listen, so, I think anybody who knows me knows that I'm not a, always blame WWE first guy. To an extent, I might be a WWE apologist, though that seems to be fading a little bit. But this was a drop-off. I was really into that character. I love the tissue paper art. I forgot what it's really called, but it was reminiscent of the T and Shaw art when they were building that up. I just like the whole thing, and I love that Malachi Black is keeping the injury, even though it's a different name, it's a different company. He doesn't care. He knows that it's one world. I don't know. I'm just digging it, and the only thing I dread is that he's the heel. Cody's the face. Malachi Black will probably win skirmishes. He'll probably win matches. He'll probably get beat downs and things like that. But the heel doesn't win feuds unless they're going to get a big title at the end. So, even if Cody doesn't want to bury him, he's going to end up burying him. I mean, or just be a wall. Because they booked themselves into a corner. This didn't need to be with Cody. It could have been with someone. This would have been a good place to put Christian in a match, not just because his name is Christian, or now you have face Kazarian. Put him in this because he doesn't need to win.
Cody needs to put over Black.
But he won't.
But he needs to. He needs to put over clean as a whistle. Not Malachi Black. Cody almost came through, but Malachi Black won by such and such. No, Malachi Black is over as fuck. He is over as fuck. That crowd loves this shit. When he came out, genuinely, I don't get surprised by anything anymore, especially in wrestling, because, especially with the internet, whatever, usually you'll hear about this shit. I didn't expect Black to come out. And when he did, I was actually, I went, oh shit. Well,
he should have been. Because it was within 90 days. I mean, no one expected. I guarantee you every single person who's released is looking at their contracts to see if they forgot to update theirs as well. Because if they had made that mistake once, it's unlikely that they never made it again. And that's what happens when you fire 40 people out of your office staff as well. Right. And if AEW's smart, do not have Black wrestle until, I'm assuming, All Out. I'm assuming that's going to be Cody and Black at All Out. It's going to be in Chicago. Or if Mish is here, he's going to pop in and say, not Chicago, it's in blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. Rosemont Heights. Okay, Mish, chill out. No, you chill out. I don't know what. That's right. Don't even get him started on how the MCU is not keeping proper to the comics. Oh, Mish. If Mish is listening, Mish, chill out. Come on. They're movies. Chill. I'm going to get an angry email. Or Facebook message. But yeah, this match, Black needs to win. Cody needs to put him over. He needs to put him over. I know what you're going to say. He won't. It won't surprise me, but it'll make me lose any and all respect I had for Cody. Because they should have started it with Dustin. That would have been interesting. But Leon, what's his name? Lee Johnson, Big Shotty, who's had 2 matches since they took him out. Let Malachi Black work his way up to Cody at least before he gets buried, beating the Guns, and all 3 of the Guns, Lee Johnson, Dustin Rhodes, whoever else is still on the good side, Brock Anderson.
Yeah.
Let him clobber all those guys. But you know what? I'm not sure that they're going to save it for All Out, and I will tell you why. And AEW's already told us why, and this is one thing that they were honest about. It took them about a year and a half to be honest about, but they're like, TV is more important to us. Our TV contract and our TV ratings is more important to us than our pay-per-view rates, our pay-per-view buys. So the TV shows are often going to be these super shows, quasi pay-per-view quality shows. I'm sure the pay-per-views will still have more title changes, and stuff like that, but it's not going to be like WWE where a title change on TV is very rare. I think it's going to be fairly frequent in the AEW world because TV is their everything.
I mean, you might be right, but I don't know. For me, it's a better idea to keep this match for All Out because, it's a hot match, and,
Sure.
black is white.
But it's only more important if pay-per-view buys are more important than ratings. So as long as the ratings stay at, say, 850 or above, or, stay 950 or a million or above, you're right. You can save it for pay-per-view, but they ebb and then they go back. They pick up and then they drop back down. I mean, there's these spikes and everyone gets all crazy, but then they drop back down and then it's, we were against an NBA game or we were against the Walking Dead season finale or, whatever it was. And there's always an excuse every week. And I'm sure that they're going to be hot for another couple of weeks, but probably my guess is by mid-August they'll be back in the 800s, not in the millions. And it'll be, baseball playoff season is coming up. Shut up. But
no one gives a shit about baseball. I'm just going to say it. No one gives a shit about baseball.
No one gives a shit about any of these things. Wrestling fans aren't sports fans. They're wrestling fans. That's why they're anime fans.
Well, basketball is always going to get good ratings. NFL is always going to get good ratings. Those are the two major sports. Baseball, no one gives a shit.
Except that the only
Hockey,
show that has lost more viewers proportionally than Monday Night Raw is NBA basketball on TNT. Monday Night Raw has lost about 35% of its audience. NBA basketball in the same 4-year period of time has lost 41% of its audience.
Well, that's a completely different story for another conversation. But
wrestling fans and sports fans, they're not the same. There's some overlap, but it's not like the big the difference. Sorry, guys, we're dorks.
Well, with NBA, I think it's more political, but again, that's a different conversation. Next match, or not even a match, but a segment. Hangman Page speaks. To the Elite. The Elite come out looking like douchebags as usual. Young Bucks talking shit. Kenny Omega. Tomato. Kenny Omega talking shit. And, Diet Heyman, as I call him, talking shit. And then one of the Young Bucks, I forget, Matt Jackson or whatever his name is, Buck Hogan, or Pieface, as Cornette says, just says, I'm going to go and tell him something face to face. And, he gets in his face and talks a little bit of shit and says, you haven't been the same since blah, blah, blah. You're a nobody. You hang out with losers. And, I bet you want to hit me in the face, right? I bet you want to hit me in the face.
You said was true.
I know. Let me finish. Telling him, I bet you won't hit me. And then, Hangman Page hits him, which, again, good. I'm glad they're pushing Hangman Page as, how he should be, a badass. And, the cowboy shit was getting over in Texas. Surprise, surprise. So, good. Push Hangman Page like a badass. If he's supposed to be a cowboy and he does cowboy shit, have him be a badass. Don't let him be a fucking pussy or neutered pussy, whatever you want to call it. So the rest of the Dark Order comes out, and Hangman Page says, Kenny, I want you for a match on, blah, 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 which I'm assuming is going to be All Out or All In, whatever you want to call it. He also says, if I win, the Dark Order gets a shot at the tag titles too, and we're going to have a 6-man tag, and, blah, 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 blah. And then Kenny tells him, if I win, or if you win, you get your shot, and so is the Dark Order, but if I win, just leave, or whatever he said. So, the crowd liking Hangman Page, so good, because I like Hangman Page too, but, AEW just doesn't really know what to do with him. But good that they're pushing him more like a badass. So yeah, I mean, I have a feeling you're probably going to think a little bit differently than me, but go ahead.
No, I think that you properly encapsulated it. I mean, I might have used different words, but I don't think I would have said anything substantially different. I mean, I like Adam Page too, and he is an appropriate badass in AEW. I think in WWE or even Impact, he'd be a little bit small. I mean, aside from the fact that the Dark Order are a bunch of losers and a bunch of dorks, this is fine. I mean, the only issue I have with it is, which two of the Dark Order would be going for the tag team, and I don't think it's that, it's not that it's that intriguing. That's not part of the story. Ooh, who do we prepare for? I mean, it's going to be Uno and Stu Grayson, most likely. But does anyone think the Dark Order is winning tag team titles anytime soon? But aside from that, I listen. I'm no Young Bucks fan, but I like what they're trying to do, and then I actually really enjoyed Matt Jackson here. But no, I didn't have any issues with the segment. And listen, I've been worried that Hangman Page was being mired in the low to mid card with the Dark Order, and that as opposed to elevating them, he was diminishing. He was being lowered by them. And then when Christian got signed, that's one more guy that he's not going to get ahead of. And then you have Andrade coming. Oh, well, now there's two guys he's not going to get ahead of. And, then, Malachi Black comes in. Oh, now it's three more. So, it always felt like Adam Page, it's like one step forward, two steps backwards because they keep signing new people. And, there's likely going to be more to come when those 90-day non-competes come out. So it's good that they're getting it in now. I think that there's a stronger chance that he's going to get the title now because I think that AEW has already gotten word from AAA and Impact that we want our belts back. This is not working out for us. And I'm pretty sure that AEW wants Omega to drop their title first.
Which good, because the whole belt collector thing is just, I don't really see it working because, he's talking about belt collecting. It's like, okay, go to NWA, go to WWE, go to NXT and take their titles. And it's like, that's never going to happen. You're going to pretty much second-ranked companies, and good. If they drop the title, if Impact wants their title back, good. Let Omega's let Omega's focus primarily be on AEW, because I said this before a while ago that if I'm Tony Khan, I don't want my champion wrestling in other companies, because I forget what show it was. I know it was an AA. I know it was a AAA show, but Kenny Omega did one of his crazy dives, almost breaking his fucking neck. And I said, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm like, motherfucker, don't ever do anything like that again. As a matter of fact, you're only wrestling here. You're not wrestling anywhere else. You're our champion. You're our quote unquote draw. I don't want you wrestling anywhere else and possibly breaking your neck. So, good on AAA if that does end up becoming a thing, and also good on Impact if Impact's just like, what, this isn't working. You're barely using our guys. As a matter of fact, you're only using two of our guys just to benefit your guys. So we're done with this. As a matter of fact, take the Good Brothers. We don't even want them. But
I agree with most of it. But I think that Tony Khan probably saw whatever Kenny did and said, "That was awesome, man." Because he's a complete mark.
Can you do more of those flips, Kenny?
The thing with Impact is that it hasn't helped Impact. I mean, people go, "You see the numbers?" Yeah, have you? When Kenny debuted in December, they went up from about 150,000 immediately to 220,000, then started giving back, and they had some ebbs and flows. They went up, I think, as high as about 180,000. The last number that came out was 69,000 viewers, and the week before that, there were 2 weeks in a row of 111,000 and 118,000. They not only have they given back everything they got from Kenny, but they lost anywhere from 40 to 85,000 of Impact viewers before, because Impact fans realized that Impact treated itself like a second-class promotion. Now, there was one pay-per-view that did good buy rates. We learned what good buy rates were. It was about 9,800. So all of their other pay-per-views, including ones during this little collaboration, did, I think the number was 9 times less. So if you take 9,800 and you divide it by 9 times less, it's something like the shows did somewhere under 1,100 on average for pay-per-view. So aside from one pay-per-view, everything else has been in decline for them. And by the way, that's fine. That one pay-per-view, maybe that made them some money. Maybe they weren't going to do better anyway. But, the carrier takes half. Some of that money is going to AEW, I'm sure. Now, what I am sure about is because nobody on Impact goes on AEW and very few people on AEW go on Impact, is that I'm pretty sure that Tony Khan is footing the bill for the whole thing. So it's probably not costing Impact anything dollar for dollar today, but it's cost them 80,000 fans. Right,
because I know Jericho did an interview where he's like, yeah, I'm not going to Impact. I'm not showing up on Impact. Fuck that. So it's just like, if you're not going to get, Jericho, who's, I guess, the only resemblance on that show of what a star is, like, you're not going to get, Kenny Omega's on there, but you're not going to get anyone else on that show. And I'm pretty sure.
Cody, there are lots of people I'd rather see on Impact than Jericho. Now, I'm a wrestling fan, but I assume anyone listening to the show is as well. I'd rather see Wardlow on Impact. I'd like to see Luchasaurus on Impact. I'd like to see Miro. There's plenty of people I'd rather see other than Jericho. I don't know. Santana Ortiz, it'd be nice to see them back in this incarnation, sort of in their own old stomping grounds. It doesn't matter. It's all fantasy stuff. That was never the deal. The deal was always for Kenny Omega, Don Callis, and to get the Good Brothers money because they can't live on the $45,000 a year that Impact pays them. And Japan was closed for a year, so they needed the work.
Exactly. Next is, in my opinion, the match of the night, and also a match of the year candidate, in my opinion. Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy. I thought it was a really good match because it was a wrestling match. Granted, with their age, they probably can't. They obviously can't do a lot of stuff the younger guys could do, and nor shouldn't they. And they've never done that kind of stuff in their career. But this was a wrestling match. This was a great wrestling match between two guys who, as Arn Anderson would say, smooth as silk. Christian Cage showing he can still go out there and perform at the highest level. Matt Hardy, I've never been the biggest Matt Hardy fan, but he came out. He, showed up. He had a good match. It went the way it should have. There wasn't any crazy false finishes. There was the right amount of false finishes for this match. And, Christian Cage won as he should have. And, after the match, what is it, the House of Hardy, or whatever the hell they're called, Private Party came out and attempted to attack...
Family Office.
There you go. Attempted to attack Christian, and then, two halves, or I guess...
Two-thirds.
Two-thirds of Jurassic Express came out and helped Christian, and there you go. What'd you think about the match?
I know that one spot was pretty impressive, but I don't care about either of these guys. I hate everything about Hardy, Family, Office, so I don't care about his matches. I don't care about Christian being there. So the only part of this that was at all interesting to me was when Luchasaurus put Christian on his shoulders and Jungle Boy looked really perplexed and even disturbed, maybe jealous, which is like, Jungle Boy might turn heel, which fulfills my dream once I saw these with Anna Jay, that he could turn heel and he and she could become the king and queen of the Dark Order and return them to darkness, which is the only thing that might save that group of boobs. But I have no interest in that. And even though the commentators made mention of Jungle Boy's face, it could just have been as something that like he was thinking like, did I ever put my stuff in the dryer?
Man, I love Jungle Boy, but he has the personality of a pumpkin.
I don't see anything in Jungle Boy.
I don't. I mean, again,
he's Reginald. He's Reginald. He's Reginald with a push.
Christ. I mean, that's maybe a little bit dark, but I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, I like him. Personal preference. I like him. He's talented.
Where is Reginald anyway? He's been missing.
I don't know. He's probably hiding up Nia Jax's hole. Anyways.
You think maybe he found Bo Dallas's old hiding spot and that's where he is?
Probably helping him sell real estate. I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Next match, you had Sammy Guevara versus Wheeler Yuta, who apparently has been he was 2-0 on AEW Dark and what is it, Redemption or Renegade, whatever the fuck it's called.
Elevation.
Elevation, there you go. Coming out with Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy for some reason.
Yes, he's the Trent Beretta replacement. He's their protege. He's the protege that's been on Ring of Honor for the last 6 months. And by the way, the Ring of Honor faithful still think Ring of Honor is going to keep him. It's like, yeah, when he's in Best Friends, guys, he's in AEW, sorry. And he's also been on New Japan Strong. In fact, he's on a card on New Japan Strong, the same one that the Good Brothers are on, which isn't airing yet, but leads me to believe that it was probably taped some weeks ago.
Right, I was going to say he wishes he was Trent Beretta in this case. I don't really see anything in the guy, personally. He's just very generic. Sammy Guevara coming out to a big pop.
They hate you on the Ring of Honor site. Wheeler with Fred Yehi and Wheeler Utah has star potential. Star potential, I tell you.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Well, they think that. I don't. I think he's journeyman at best.
All right, there you go. Sammy Guevara coming out to a nice pop. He's from Houston, the Texas crowd loving Sammy. The match went the way it should have. Sammy getting the win and clean as a whistle. I think it was like less than 7 minutes.
It was a glorified squash match, but that's fine. That's okay.
Sammy, I like Sammy, but he's better as a heel. I just gotta say, better as a heel. He just has that natural heel face. Because, for what it's worth, I hear he's a very nice guy. I hear he's a sweetheart in person. But he's better as a heel. He needs to be a heel.
I give him a chance. Couple of random thoughts. One is that while I was watching him, I was like, because everyone knows, but I'm not sure how much of your audience actually knows me. I don't really like small wrestlers unless they do something really interesting or they do it over a long enough amount of time. So I'm not really into Sammy Guevara. I'm not into the Orange Cassidys and the Jungle Boys of the world. It's going to take something extraordinary for me to be interested in them at all. No matter what they do. Well, that's not true. Not no matter what they do, but it's going to take a lot. Anyway, not that anyone should care about that, but that's just giving you a frame of reference. So I was thinking, would I trade Dominic Mysterio for Sammy Guevara? And I was like, in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat it would.
Right.
The other thing that I want to say is that you said that everyone says he's a nice guy. I have never met him formally, but I was at StarCast for Full Gear in November in 2019. And a lot of the AEW wrestlers were there for, they had 3-hour shifts or 4-hour shifts or whatever was coming. Sammy was the first one there, and he definitely stayed more than 3 hours. He stayed more than 6 hours. He had a personal conversation with every single person that came to him. He stayed behind and had individual conversations, clearly way after it was his time up. His bag was packed. He had it, his backpack over his shoulder. He had put his coat on. It was cold. It was November, but not inside. So he was ready to go, and he was there at least a good 30, 40 minutes afterwards, still hanging out and talking to fans and posing for pictures. So obviously, all of those things that people always said John Cena did right and Cal Ripken did right and things like that. He does that. He gets that part of it. So I think you're right. I think he probably is a really nice guy. And I think he could be a face because, I think he can be a face with attitude and he can mix the clap and stomp in there. He's clever. That thing with the cue cards was clever. He does clever stuff. So I wouldn't. I'm not ready to say he can't be face and heel just yet. And I'm not a big fan, so give it time, my man. Give it time.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I can be wrong. Maybe he could be a good, white meat baby face. So I don't know, but just personal preference.
Just saying maybe.
Something you said. I was just thinking about something. Oh, when you said trading Dominic for Sammy, it can be like it can be like in sitcoms whenever they recast a character, where it's just like, yeah, this is him. This is Dominic. It's like, when did Dominic get taller and skinnier?
Well, yeah. Or when did Sammy get taller and skinnier? But
no. I was just saying it's like a sitcom. It's like they recast Fred with a different actor, and it's like, wait, when did Fred get taller?
When there's new Becky,
or in Fresh Prince, when they recast Aunt Vivian with light skin Aunt Vivian,
right? Or Darren in Bewitched.
It's like we're not supposed to notice. It's like, no, we notice. It's like, that's Sammy Guevara. It's like, no, this is Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio's son.
And all of a sudden he's good.
Exactly.
No. I mean, but listen, for those of you who think, you're just doing the Latino for the Latino, and if you weren't thinking that before, you just thought it. But no, I didn't stop there. I also recast. I traded the Viking Raiders back to Ring of Honor for Shane Taylor Promotions.
Okay, I have no clue who that is.
Moses is every big as agile a big man as Ivar, and they're just more serious. The Vikings are, I don't know. They tried to do that comedy stuff with them, and some of it with where the women liked Ivar, they thought he was cute, was sort of chuckle for a few weeks. But I don't know. They never sort of got that comedy stink off of them, and I just see them very cartoony now. Shane Taylor Promotions, they're like I don't know. They're serious. They're badasses, and Khan and Moses are a great tag team, and then you got Shane, and they got O'Shea Edwards also. But even if you just did Khan and Moses for who call themselves the Soldiers of Savagery, for the Viking Raiders, I'd do that trade in a heartbeat as well.
All right. I mean, yeah, just for their sake, just let them go and go somewhere else. I mean, because again, I didn't watch War Machine whenever they were in Japan, New Japan or Ring of Honor or whatever. But it's just like, if these guys are supposed to be like the next big thing or whatever you want to call them, let them go. WWE just needs to let them go. But that's just me. But next match, you have Penelope Ford versus Yuka Sakazaki. I was kind of drifting in and out of this match. I mean, Penelope Ford is obviously, drop dead gorgeous. She's not terrible in the ring. I'm surprised that they had her, job to whoever the fuck this was. But
one of the Joshi girls who, might be there for 3 weeks and then not seen again.
Right. It's just, and I said this online the other day. We'll talk about NXT in a bit, but I just said, that girl Saray is just another, generic Joshi girl, and one of my followers, Johnny Z, he is a very big, proponent of, Japanese women's wrestling, and we just kind of got into an argument back and forth, and he was trying to compare, her to, like, Asuka. He's like, so you're saying Asuka and Io Shirai are generic? I'm like, no, they're fucking good. Like, they don't come out and do the Joshi shit. Saray does that, and this girl, I'm looking at the page and I already forgot her fucking name. She's just generic. Like, she's very generic.
Joshi wrestling is like a parody of wrestling. I mean, it's like cosplay wrestling. It doesn't even really attempt to look serious. But this was a waste of time. And frankly, the coffin match, which seemed a little bit rushed, they could have trimmed this match all the way off of the card. There's no reason for them to import this wrestler from Japan, even if she's terrific, because they have a women's roster, and aside from like 4 of them, none of them ever get any time. And one of the ones that gets some time is Penelope Ford, so at least have her win. I mean, right, exactly. If you're going to have someone lose, at least put legit Layla Hirsch or Danny Jordan or someone that is always going to be sort of your low card, in there, and let them take the loss.
Right, because Penelope Ford looks like something. Like, right. She's someone that if Vince McMahon saw her, he would go, sign her! But Vince, she's working with another company. I don't care, sign her!
And Kip shouldn't be a wrestler, and he should never be in the ring, but could he be like Robert Stone? Like a interfering manager who can take bumps sometimes and cause distraction wins? Yes, he can do that, so that could be a little bit of a tandem.
Right, exactly. Penelope Ford is the star. Kip Sabian should not even be anywhere near a wrestling ring. He should be on the sidelines clapping for his hot as fuck wife who's way out of his league for some reason that they're together. I don't know. But anyways, let's get to the main event. Coffin match, because we haven't seen it before. The first ever coffin match.
Oh, wait. We cannot ignore that the Factory still got some TV time, despite there being no reason for this faction and no success. I just want to say that this should have been edited right all the way off my TV as well.
I don't give a shit about Kevin James or his new faction. Anyways, main event, Jeff. Main event. The first ever coffin match in wrestling history, Jeff, on AEW. Darby Allin versus Ethan Page. All ego Ethan Page. The crowd seemed hot for it. They loved it. They loved the bumps. I'm just going to skip to the finish because I didn't like the finish, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
So the finish was obviously Darby wins. He throws Ethan in the coffin, not the casket, Jeff, the coffin, and then Darby goes for a coffin drop while Ethan is still in the coffin. Said coffin. Right. Here's why I didn't like the finish. I thought the aftermatch, or what happened after the match, should have been the finish, because you could have done that either one of two ways. You could have had Darby put Ethan on top of the coffin and go for his coffin drop, and that's how he wins. Because they could have said, well, Ethan technically went in the coffin first, so Darby wins. Or Darby goes for his coffin drop and Ethan moves out of the way, so Darby ends up crashing to the coffin. So that could have been your finish, not after the fucking match. So that's what I didn't like. But obviously the crowd liked it. So what'd you think?
I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I mean, the one of the things I took issue with around the match is that Sting keeps beating up Scorpio Sky every week. And everyone's like, well, he's there to put over Darby. Darby already was over. So, I mean, and then putting over Darby a little bit more, or maybe at the expense of Scorpio Sky, who's supposed to be one of your foundation members, and it is an AEW original, and Ethan Page, who they brought in these guys to be, for singles pushes. They're both former tag team wrestlers. Put them back into a tag team. They have no tag team success, and now they're having no individual success. And one of them, who's supposed to be a star of the future, who, I worry about Adam Page, but I mean, Scorpio Sky, I think, is doomed. He keeps getting beat up by a 62-year-old man, and it's silly. I'm not saying that he should beat up the 62-year-old man. I'm just saying either have him barred from ringside, or put him against someone else. As far as the match is concerned, I agree with you with the finish. It was a little bit rushed. Ethan Page obviously basically pushed it. He basically did a pull up and put himself into the coffin. The referee was holding the coffin top up while Darby was setting up, so that sort of took a little bit out of it. And yeah, I mean, the thing about AEW is that they like the stunts and the spots just as much as the wrestling. And listen, their fans love it, but if you don't like that, or you're looking for something to criticize AEW about, that's it. That's one of those things that you can easily look at, and you can always justify it by saying, because one day Darby's going to kill himself doing that, and that's one of the young guys you're building around. And say what you want about Darby, he actually is a young guy. Orange Cassidy is of a similar stature and has a gimmick, and he's over, but he's a 37 or 38-year-old man. Now, that's not old, but it's not 27 either. But listen, I didn't think, I know they like spots. I know they couldn't resist it in the first Full House. I didn't really have any real issue with it. I sort of popped a little bit for it. Mostly because I thought it looked so bad how Ethan Page basically threw himself into the coffin. Yeah,
it was, just...
I mean, what's he supposed to do? But, I mean, it shouldn't have had to have been like that. I mean, his trajectory should have been enough to get him into the coffin. Right,
it was just, nothing really wrong with the match. It, in my opinion, was what it was. I know I'm probably going to get attacked being like, it was great. I'm like, it was what it was, and I'm not... I'm not big on Ethan Page. I think he's just okay. I mean, he's a good talker. He has a good personality, but he's just okay to me. Darby Allin, I'm kind of back and forth with. I've always been back and forth with Darby Allin because, for a guy his size, his stuff at least looks good. Like, he really lays it in. But
he's very fluid. He's very fluid. He's very accurate with his moves.
Right, exactly, but it's just, again, I'm kind of like you in some aspects where I become a size queen, where I'm just like, I see him and I go, if only he was at least 6'2" and 220 pounds, he would be a huge star. Like, he would be big.
Yeah. He was Jeff Hardy's size.
I mean, dare I say he might even be this new generation Sting, if he was at least that size.
Yeah, or even Christian size, like Christian size now.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, again, the AEW show was good. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I watched it from beginning, middle to end. Man,
it was a good show. I mean, everyone's talking about it being. I've seen better AEW shows, but that doesn't mean this one wasn't good. I mean, there's been quite a few AEW shows I liked, but yeah, I thought it was good. But I don't like Hardy. I thought the Joshi match was useless. So a couple things like that. But I mean, I love the Andrade promo, except some of it left me scratching my head. But he looks like a star. I just don't know why he was going from the the TNT title and the AEW titles were his next steps to now wants to go after Death Triangle, who are barely on TV and never win and are nowhere near any title. So, that was like, huh? And I understand the real life reason. Well, they don't have plans for him to be in the title picture now. I mean, Miro's a heel, he's a heel. They've got their title, picture set up. So they had to pivot. So why have him do that promo where he says that the TNT and the AEW titles are his next step? I mean, but the groomer, love that. I love the lint brush. I loved how he was dusting them off. I think Andrade looks like a star. I don't think they need to do the subtitles. I think his English is good enough, and if he speaks Spanish naturally, I think it's like when Asuka speaks Japanese or when Penta speaks Spanish. You don't need to know the exact words. You know what he's saying.
Right, and it's just funny to think about. Andrade says, "I want to go after the AEW World Title and then the TV title," and I just picture Tony Khan. We don't have anything for you for those titles because you're a heel and they're heels too. I want to go after Death Triangle. Okay, Andrade. But yeah, looking at the ratings proved they got a 1.25. Which is actually a 17.68% improvement from last week. So good.
They jumped 200. They added 250,000 viewers from the prior week.
All right, so good for AEW. I applaud AEW. NXT, in my opinion, I think it was just a one-match show. So I'm just gonna kind of skip the match card from Tuesday. I mean, I guess there's really only two things that are worth talking about. First being your favorite thing, the segment with Cameron Grimes. I
have two favorite things, by the way, but that's okay.
Right, and as LA Knight's butler, which, I think judging by how we were talking about it on Messenger, I think I enjoyed it more than you. You finish and then I'll speak. Okay, so basically, from last week on the Great American Bash, Cameron Grimes and LA Knight had a match for the $1 Million Championship, and if the stipulation was that if Grimes lost, he had to be LA Knight's butler, which obviously what we're talking about, Grimes lost, so Grimes shows up to LA Knight's mansion, and he seems very gung-ho about doing his job. Which is kind of funny because the whole time he's like, I'm a billionaire, so I'm still gonna work for my money, and I'm still a good old boy from the South, so I know about hard work, so I'm gonna go to the brew, and LA Knight's saying, no, clean the bathroom and blah blah blah. So, and just I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, maybe chuckle a few times. So that's but there's a bit where, LA Knight's telling him, to mow the lawn, and, Grimes is thinking, I'm going to use the tractor, and then, Knight says, I'm not giving you the keys for this, you're going to use this, and it's one of those, shitty-looking lawnmowers, and Grimes is like, no problem, my grandmama used to chase me with one of these, ha, 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 and, he ends up cutting the grass, so to speak, but he ends up paying a random kid to do it for him, and, they get into a scuffle, and Knight ends up pushing, or not Knight, Grimes ends up pushing Knight into the pool. So that ends that skit. Here's what I took from it. Here's what I think is going to happen is, I think it's going to be a thing of Grimes is going to drive Knight crazy because Knight assumed Grimes is going to be broken down and disheveled over it, but Grimes is like, wait, I'm still a billionaire. I can do whatever the hell I want. So, I think in the end, Knight's gonna fire him because he's driving him fucking crazy. But yeah, go ahead. Give me your thoughts on the whole vignettes segment, whatever you call it.
Okay. Before I do that, I just want to say that I loved Great American Bash. The week before, I don't know what it was about it, but the entire 2 hours, I think I liked every single thing about it. Like, it was one of my favorite wrestling shows of the year. I had really high expectations for the Grimes Knight stuff. Their timing is great. LA Knight's timing is great. You know, he's sort of clever, like you said, to the broom, you know, instead of moon, that kind of stuff. I was looking for greatness, and because this was a DiBiase thing, I really was expecting, I was expecting him to make Cameron Grimes wear the exact same thing that Virgil wore. I was expecting Cameron Grimes to always try to sneak his hat on, and LA Knight keep telling him that's not part of the uniform. So I was so committed to these things that I thought were so obvious and such easy comedy that when they didn't happen, I was really disappointed. I didn't really find it funny. I found it like Young Bucks yuck funny. Like, it's almost funny, but it's not, except for the last segment. And I especially liked it when the kid kicked LA Knight in the shin. That was good. So, I mean, it's not like I didn't enjoy it at all. It just didn't live up nearly to my expectations, what I was hoping for. And, I mean, but it's a waste. You have a Butler story that originated with Ted DiBiase and the $1 Million Belt, and you don't have the guy wear the same thing as Virgil. You don't have, LA Knight saying, here's your, do the whole thing with the uniform, but you make him wear a chauffeur's cap, and Cameron Grimes keeps trying to stick on his silly little brown, sort of like old-timey, prospector hat.
Yeah, okay, I understand it. I mean, I enjoyed this. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. I definitely didn't think of it as like a Young Bucks thing, because the Young Bucks think that they're being funny, but they're really not. I mean, it's douchey funny. This is more like slapsticky, kind of goofy funny.
Okay, I mean, fair enough, but I was trying to say the same thing. I guess maybe you think less of the Young Bucks humor than I do, or maybe I just, that's how I imagine the Young Bucks, and I don't actually watch BT and never have, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
I watched one clip and I went, nah, done.
Okay, so this is a better one that you really liked. What was that show, like Single Parents or Parenthood, or the one with like Rob Schneider and David Spade and Adam Sandler, Kevin James,
Grown Ups.
Okay, so like that is like, let's just say that that's what you're expecting. Instead, you get Rob Schneider the animal instead, where nothing is funny. So I was expecting Grown Ups, and I got Rob Schneider the animal.
Come on, dude. I would. Come on, dude. I wouldn't go that far. Okay.
Ace Ventura to Ace Ventura 2?
I like both movies.
Jesus Christ, man. Just work with me a little here.
I can't. We have to, dude. The balance of reality has to stay intact. If we disagree,
we hold the whole time-space continuum in our hands.
Every time we agree on something, something always happens.
That's right. An angel loses their wings.
The last time we actually agreed on something, it ended up snowing for 5 days straight in San Antonio.
It's true. Like, Archangel Gabriel was coming down. One of his wings fell off, and it's like, ah!
And the last time your internet cut out. So, it's just like, we need to disagree on things.
Me and God have been having a feud for a long time.
I'm just not going to touch that.
You shouldn't.
I should, but
it's beyond your vril level.
Okay, it makes sense. So let's talk about
the Garden of Doom. It would make sense.
I do listen to Garden of Doom.
Sense.
Okay. Anyways, let's get to the main event, which is Karrion Kross, the NXT champion, versus Johnny Gargano with Samoa Joe as a special referee. This is kind of an interesting match because it had interesting stipulations or implications, because the thought behind this was that this was going to be Karrion Kross, leaving NXT. This is going to be, their way of having Karrion Kross go to the main roster. Because I know Kevin, said a few things that, expect Kross to drop that title.
I didn't think he was going to the main roster after this. I mean, I could see it down the line, but
Right,
Okay.
right. Well, I'm just going by what people say because I honestly didn't think it either. Because I'm like, if Cross is going to lose the title, he's going to lose it because he wants to give it up. Because
or because he gets warned that he can't beat up Joe by Regal, and he beats up Joe, and they fire him and strip him of the title.
Or Cross can be like, I've already taken out your Mount Rushmore of NXT, so I got nothing else to prove. So here's your title. I'm going to go main event WrestleMania. So he can do that because I don't see anyone on NXT beating him, except Walter, but Walter is injured. So.
Oh please, stop with the Walter romance.
Oh, you hush your mouth, sir. Anyway, let's move. Let's move on.
He's just German Cesaro, for God's sake.
You bite your tongue. You bite your tongue, sir. Bite your tongue. Jesus Christ. Let's move on because I'm getting annoyed, and you look like you're getting annoyed too.
I always look like I'm annoyed.
So do I.
I know.
But main event. I think it was like less than 10 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. And
I thought this was excellent. I mean, if you're looking for me to say anything bad about this match, you're not going to. I thought the whole thing was great.
Oh no. On the contrary, sir, I enjoyed it. It went the way it should have. My worry going into the match was that is it going to be a Johnny Gargano match or is it going to be a Karrion Kross match? It ended up being a little bit of a Johnny Gargano match because, of course, he had to throw his Johnny Gargano isms in it where. It's just like, you have to do this move. You have to make me look strong. You have to take my offense. And Karrion Kross is like, nope. So Karrion Kross was selling, quote unquote. But in the end, Karrion Kross, anytime he took a hit, he would just come back up and beat the shit out of Gargano, which, good.
Yeah, he was shrugging it off.
Good. It's not going to be like Bronson Reed, selling for a guy that's the size of his leg.
That was disgusting.
It's going to be Kross, saying, no, you're going to take my shit. I'll take a little bit of your offense, but in the end, you're going to take my shit, and you're going to sell for it. So, the match went the way it should have. It was fine.
Joe sold the hell out of that.
Oh, hell yeah. We'll get to that. So, Kross ends up winning with a cross jacket. And after the match, Kross puts Joe in a cross jacket. So, implications for next week on NXT, I mean... Is Joe even clear to wrestle? I mean, we don't know. But could this lead to, like what you said, Regal saying, you can't just go around attacking, officials. So I have no other choice but to strip you of the NXT title. So you're gone from NXT. Or it could be, Kross saying, I've done everything. I've carried this, brand on my back. I got nothing else to prove. Here's your title. I'm gone.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Those are definitely two ways that it could go. I mean, I think they could go a lot of different ways with it, and I don't think any of them are necessarily bad. We can go that Kross goes too far and gets fired, and stripped of the title. We can go with Kross does it on his own terms. That I've done everything I want to do here, and now I'm on to bigger and on his own terms. Or it can be a Kevin Owens where he shows up on the main roster with the NXT belt and does double duty for a while, until they either NXT says you're not defending it enough on our title, on our brand, and we're stripping you, or they have him lose it, but they have it lose it in some way that protects him so that he's not weakened on the main roster, like a fatal 4-way or a triple threat, or I'm not suggesting. This be the outcome, but, something like a faction, and I'll just use Undisputed Era because they don't exist anymore as a faction, but something like that where 3 guys beat the hell out of him, and so the 4th guy can, then put his finisher on and do a close, or I'm sorry, a pinfall, something like that. But, there's a whole lot of directions they can go with it, and I think it's cool. I mean, I think that Kross's act will work better on the main roster with that theatric entrance and with Scarlett, and they'll have more space. Everything will sound bigger. There won't be only 150 people in the room. So I think there's some acts that are too big for NXT and work better on the main roster. I think Dexter Lumis might work. He might be creepier, with a larger arena backstage. I think the Tian Sha stuff definitely works better. Everything dramatic works better in in the bigger theatrical setting.
Right, and I've been saying this for a few months. Cross is ready. It's just a matter of time. He needs to be on the main roster. I think Dexter needs to be on the main roster as well. because again,
Dexter
Loomis. Oh god, they're gonna call him Dexter. Fuck.
I hope they just call him Loomis if they're gonna drop a name.
Loomis sounds a lot more creepier. But Vince loves characters. I'm pretty sure he's gonna love Dexter Loomis. But yeah. Here's another thing I just thought of. What if next week, William Regal's, pretty much, giving Cross a talking to, and then right when Regal's walking away, Cross puts him in a straitjacket or in a Cross jacket, and then that's when Regal does the that's it, you've gone too far, Cross. You're stripped of the NXT title.
It's possible. They're doing a lot of sort of strange and random things, or you could call it a reset, and to a certain extent it's a little bit herky-jerky. They've started a couple of stories on NXT and just dropped them because they move people to the main roster, but at the same time the main roster needs freshening up and needs new stuff, so the main roster is more important than NXT, so I can't hate on it, and I don't mind the reset. And so if that's the way it's going to be, to put Cross on the main roster, that's fine. But, one guy isn't going to save a show or a brand. Well, Roman sort of did. But, at some point he needs enemies. And actually I think Edge is doing a good job in that role now. But, it was good to see Finn Balor come back. It was good to know that Davey Boy Smith Jr. or Harry Smith was on a dark match, and so, he's back. It's, another body. I think that they cut too many people. And, I hope Daniel Bryan comes back, but if he doesn't come back, I hope they bring some other people back or bring some other people in. I don't really understand Mandy Rose for Aaliyah, but, I guess we'll wait and see. I don't understand why Ember Rose and Shotzi were a successful tag team, but now it's Shotzi and Tegan Nox or Nox.
Hold off on the SmackDown talk. We'll get to that. So let me just read the rating for NXT. They had 705, which is actually up 7.8% from the previous week's Great American Bash. So good for NXT.
Up 50,000.
And let's get to, I guess, the elephant in the room, SmackDown. SmackDown, this is the first WWE event, or this is the first, I guess, weekly WWE event, Raw or SmackDown, with fans since, was it March of last year? I forget the actual date.
They said 70 weeks.
70 weeks, that's what Michael Cole was hammering in. 70 weeks! The crowd was hot. Because it was in Houston, the crowd was white fucking hot, so that's one thing. That's one thing that made the show. Vince McMahon looking like a human rubber band at this point. Coming out and saying, where the hell have you guys been? And then he ends up going to the back for no reason. So, I don't know. But, nice montage, of WWE. The one thing you can always say about them is that they have a great production team, and they always put on these really great montages, so good for them. The first match of the night, which was surprising to me, which I thought was going to be the main event, 6-man tag, Roman Reigns and the Usos versus Edge and the Mysterios. Roman Reigns coming out to a very mixed reaction, which was, it didn't shock me because, Roman's a heel. We can sit up here and praise him, but, there's still people that are always going to hate Roman Reigns regardless, so he had a mixed reaction, which was good. Makes sense. The
crowd exploded, and I think they remembered they're supposed to boo him.
Right.
I thought it was a great reaction. He's a heel. He's supposed to be booed, but the crowd exploded. You could hear when the music went on, they erupted, and then they're like, "Oh wait, boo,
boo!" And then Mysterios came out. Edge came out to like a fucking huge reaction. What?
Yeah, I was agreeing with you.
Right. Okay. So I was saying. What?
Down goes Azrael. Down goes Azrael.
I don't get the reference.
Another angel lost their wings.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, man, we got to disagree.
Not him! That's the chief angel!
Okay, I just remembered who Azrael is. I'm sorry. I was just kind of, thrown off by it. I know my angels. I know my demons, dude. Come on. I was just thrown off by it. I wasn't expecting that. Anyways.
Name a demon. Not Pain.
Beelzebub?
Yeah, good one. Okay.
All right, there you go. Fuck, where was I at? Oh, yeah, Edge. Big reaction from the crowd. Of course, his music's always going to get over. He's going to get over. The match itself was fine. It was a pretty good match. Good back and forth. Ended in a roll-up, which... Okay. But, what'd you think?
No, I thought this was good. I was also surprised that it was the opening match. I guess they wanted to reward the crowd and the audience, and they wanted to start hot. Heels won, but at least Edge, got the upper hand at the end. But no, I thought it was well executed. I thought it was pretty good. I didn't mind the roll up in this case. Generally speaking, WWE does too many roll ups, but I didn't think it was bad in this case. It seemed to flow. So I thought this was good. And anytime a Mysterio loses, I'm happy.
Alrighty then. And then backstage segment with Edge talking about his match. And then Seth Rollins comes out and talks a little shit. So pretty much cementing.
I didn't hate Seth Rollins tonight.
You didn't hate Seth Rollins?
Yeah, I didn't hate Seth Rollins tonight.
Yeah, he did his job. He did his job, and he was the heel. So and the main event we'll talk about. But
I liked that he brought up and I'm going to finish that job that I started 7 years ago. That was good.
Yeah, I'm a stickler for continuity, so the fact that they brought that up was pretty cool. So, and then what else did he say? I was going to say, pretty much cementing that's going to be the SummerSlam match, or that's going to be a SummerSlam match.
Sure, of course, and the Rollins is probably going to cost Edge the title, this weekend.
Right. So, and then Sami Zayn comes out, talks a little shit, getting good heel heat, and then Finn Balor, makes his return to the main roster, and then takes out Sami. The crowd's obviously happy that Finn's back. Thoughts?
Well done. And earlier in the day, people asked if it is Finn Balor, who do you think his first feud is going to be? Say, well, I think he'll be a face, and so Sami Zayn seems like the first likely opponent, and there it was. So since WWE finally agreed with me once, then I like it, because I agree with me too.
Good. Next match, you had Tag Team Championship Contender match. You had who's now just Shotzi, not Blackheart, Shotzi, and Nox, who's... I'm confused if she's just Nox, because Michael Cole referred to her as Tegan Nox, so I don't know. But Shotzi and Nox versus the Tag Team Champions, and Natalya and Tamina. Just not a very good match, but, it went the way it should have. You had Zelina Vega and Liv Morgan on commentary talking shit, and, they get into each other's face and start fighting, and then they end up rolling into the ring and distracting Natalya while she has Nox in a sharpshooter, and then Nox rolls up another roll-up on Natalya, wins the match, so now Nox and Shotzi have a number one contenders match against Tamina and Natalya, which I'm assuming it might be next week or possibly maybe even SummerSlam, which I think seems like a better idea. What do you think?
I think it'll be next week. I think they'll win the titles. I think that Shotzi and Nox sounds like a updated version of Turner and Hooch, but with a female cast. I think that they're really trying to make us think that Liv Mania is like Kofi Mania, and there's no way that it is. But I didn't, this was a bit of a mess. But I think that Shotzi, and I'll just call her Nox, I think they're doing fine, and I think that they're adding a little life. I think that tank needs to move a little bit faster. It's sort of comically slow. And I think that the shooting shirts or whatever they shoot into the audience is sort of a great face gimmick that hasn't been used in a while, but I think that they need to be able to shoot more than one. Like it should be like, the Harlem Globetrotters where they were, throwing 15 or 20 in there. And I think that'll really get the fans more behind them if they can somehow make it to, I know this sounds terrible, but to make the tank turret sort of more automatic.
Right. So we were kind of talking about this, but do you think Shotzi could be something on the main roster?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, because I've always said it, like, she's marketable. And let me explain what I mean by that. So, I look at her, I look at the tank. WWE can make a killing on those tanks, because they have a deal with, like, who? Hasbro? One of the big toy companies? Like, they could have Hasbro make those toy tanks. Like,
Sure.
And
Lego, they could build them too.
Right, exactly, and they can make a killing off of those. And and little girls, they're gonna see Shotzi, or little boys too. I'm not, there's no preference. They're gonna see kids in general. They're gonna see Shotzi and go, she's cool. She has green hair. I want to paint my hair green. I want to wear, that really cool helmet. I want to drive in a badass tank. So she's marketable. If done right, and that's a big if, she could be one of the biggest, women in the roster. So I love Shotzi. I want to see her do well. I always want to see her do well. Okay, next match, SmackDown Women's Championship match, which originally was supposed to be on Money in the Bank, but Bayley is out for 9 months, so speedy recovery to Bayley.
Yes.
It ended up getting changed to or moved to SmackDown and replaced with Carmella. Bianca Belair winning, which we knew was going to happen. I mean, not a bad match. One thing I can say about Carmella is when she's with the right opponent, she can have a good match.
I am not a Carmella hater. I think that 3 years ago Carmella stunk. I think around 2 years ago Carmella got pretty good, and I would say that she is, you may not think that she's great, but she doesn't suck. She's a good female wrestler, and she's got a good look. I don't know why Reginald was taken away from her. I sort of like that little gimmick. It could have been done better. But, this is the same gripe as Moxley Carl Anderson. There was never a question as to who was going to win, but different. This wasn't promoted as some big deal. It was, sort of a, this is a house show. It was quickly sandwiched in there because of Bayley's injury, and they gave the live crowd a title match. Bianca got a huge pop, which, I'm not sure that everybody was 100% sure that was going to happen. She's not really that interesting a face. She's a much more interesting heel, but they loved her tonight, and they loved her at WrestleMania. It probably didn't hurt that she got that SP with Sasha, so good. I mean, I'm happy for all of it, and, I don't know what Carmella deserved, or did to deserve a title match, but they had to put someone in there, and I guess they didn't want Liv to lose. She's the only one that's on any sort of a winning streak with any sort of momentum. But I don't know. I mean, it doesn't make sense to have Carmella in the Money in the Bank and she just lost a title match. I mean, that's where having this thin roster really doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, if anything, they and I'll just pick out names out of, sort of a hat, but like two people in NXT that you don't see very much. Like, put on Cora Jade and Jessie Kamea and make it a handicap match, to show how powerful Bianca Belair is, just to mix it up a little bit.
Right. Carmella is, what's the best way I can describe her? She's like the female Dolph in a sense where, when they need her for something, they're going to dust her off and they're going to put her in a championship match. And then once that's done, they're going to put her away and have her do whatever. So she does her job, because she does her job well as a heel. Granted, because I don't think, people like her personally, but, she does her job well as a heel. She looks good. She's passable in the ring. I'll agree that she has gotten better over the past, couple years. But yeah, like I just mentioned, you give her the right opponent, she can go in there and have a good match. You give her.
What do you think about this idea? With Bayley being out, I know people are saying that she can still do recorded stuff and she can still do Ding Dong Hello, but I mean, we all know what WWE does with injured people. They freeze their contracts and then tag it on to the end, and maybe they still pay them their guaranteed downside, but they're not going to, or something, but they tack it on. So I don't think they're going to do that. How about Carmella? They give her back Reginald or something, and she has a talk show segment, call it the wine lounge or the bottle service room or whatever, and she does that talk show segment. I think she could sort of be like a heel with attitude, and the wine stuff could work to her favor and to her disfavor. I don't know, just something to kill time, because they're going to have some sort of talk segment. I definitely don't want to see the KO show again.
Right. I mean, that could be a good idea. But, with Bayley, I mean, whatever they have her do, she's always going to be good. Because, I mean, I have a soft spot for Bayley. I'm always going to let Bayley, regardless of what she does. Personally, I kind of wish they would just keep her at home and pay her because, she needs to heal. So, that's just me. But
I think they will. I don't think we're going to see her on TV.
I mean, good. Stay at home and just heal. That's basically my message to Bayley. Next we have, poor guy. Poor Corbin. Poor man Corbin, who apparently ever since losing the crown to Nakamura, his life has fallen apart. He's lost investments. His house is about to go in foreclosure. He lost his car. So, his 2-year-old daughter has to eat spaghetti out of a can, according to him, which that killed me. That popped me. And then apparently it's about to get even worse. He might even have to move in with his in-laws. So he put up a GoFundMe for what is it, $100,000? Which I thought it was going to be a lot more than $100,000, but
Yeah, that was a very Dr. Evil kind of number.
Right. So he just needs it to pay a few bills. And what do you think about this whole Baron Corbin down to his luck game? I think it's funny. I love it.
Okay, this is one of the things with WWE. There are stories that should take time that they rush, and then there's things that should end that never end. So what's an example of something that should end that never ends? Drew McIntyre title matches. The Elias Jackson Riker feud should have ended with the strap match. What's something that should have lasted longer? Jinder's crowd with the sword should have been more than a 1-week story. And this descent of Baron Corbin was too quick. It should have been developed. I mean, aside from the fact that the real world doesn't work anywhere near that speed,
right.
It's completely unbelievable that the guy, always bragging about how much money he had, lost it all so quickly just because he lost endorsements. I mean, nobody's ever seen him on anything. So, I mean, so if they took a little bit of time with it and showed a more slow descent, it really took me out of it that when Rick Boogs is saying that your car got towed, the commentary immediately knew that it was repossessed because that's the story. But when somebody's car gets towed, your first assumption isn't repossessed. Your first assumption is probably that they were parked in a fire zone or in front of a hydrant or blocking a school bus or something like that. That repossessed is sort of like, probably 7th or 8th in your thought process. You don't jump straight to. Anyway, I think this was rushed. I think the 100,000 is a stupid number. I mean, it should have been like $1 million or whatever. Or if they thought they were looking for something that maybe they could attain pledges without it being too obnoxious, $250,000. But 100, it just sounds stupid. I mean, if he's in this much woe, 100,000 isn't going to help him. So I like the concept, but it was rushed, and I think it's being executed poorly.
I mean, right. I mean, you have some points. It seemed like it was rushed, but I don't know. This is probably the most interesting I've seen Corbin. This is probably the most interesting.
I did collections for over a decade, so maybe I'm just too jaded by I know how long these things take.
All right, and it's just like that's what made me laugh. I'm like, $100,000. It's like I would imagine it being like maybe $500,000 at least, or $750,000, or like you said, $1 million. But it's just like, damn, dude, like what exactly are you spending your money on that your baby girl apparently has to eat spaghetti out of a can instead of, what do you say, steak rhubarb or something like that?
No, he said Wagyu steak, which is Kobe cows, just that aren't from the Kobe Valley. But I mean, Drew, you and I are not that wealthy of people. I mean, $100,000 would be life changing, but to a man who was acting like he had millions and now had nothing, 100,000 isn't going to get him out of the hole. His Mercedes should be 100. His house in foreclosure, you'd think that he'd have a $3 million mansion. I mean, it's just disjointed. It's like they put the most ignorant person, say, come up with a number, and some dummy who thinks that Outback Steakhouse is fancy said 100,000 sounds like a lot, and I was like, yeah, 100,000 sounds good.
Yeah,
and then someone else said, probably Shane, said, I bet we could get that.
Right. I don't know. I think it's funny because, again, it's, it's kind of showing somewhat of a personality from Baron Corbin, but anyways, he comes out and he, begs the crowd, and then Kevin Owens comes out, with a nice ovation for Kevin Owens. And then Baron, tells Kevin, hey, you got some pull in the locker room. Could you tell the other guys, to help out with my cause? And at the same time, he's insulting him. And, Kevin Owens gives him a stunner. And that begins the main event of the night, which is a 4-way with the 4 SmackDown contenders of the Money in the Bank match. Kevin Owens, Big E, Seth Rollins, and Nakamura. Pretty good match, but it seemed like it was kind of rushed. It was a lot shorter than I thought it'd be. That's how I thought. I think it was like maybe less than 10 minutes, or maybe even less than 8 minutes.
If you take out the commercial time, I think they were all in the ring by a quarter of, and the show ended at 9:57. So it was no more than 13 minutes. So, for a fatal 4-way with 4 of their top stars, had a resolution pretty quickly. But again, I'm not a match guy, so I will rarely complain about a shorter match. But this match could have been an 18 to 22 minute match without any complaint from anyone. I enjoyed the match. I thought it was fine, and as much as I thought the Corbin comedy stuff could have been good, it was sort of like a foul, almost sort of like the Knight Grimes thing where it could have been better. But it's a good idea. This Corbin thing was a complete setup for Owen Stunner to get the crowd excited. So, no, I thought this was well executed, and, I don't know that this SmackDown was much different than any other SmackDown aside from the opening match, which was definitely different. But it definitely felt different, and the comparison I made on Twitter to someone, because it just came to me, and I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it's like if you're at home, like let's just say you got a filet mignon from, Omaha Steaks, and you cooked it up just perfect, and you had a nice bottle of wine, but you're still eating it at home. It tastes good, but you're eating it at home, versus you get the same thing and you're at, Morton's or the Palm or Ruth Chris. It just tastes better. There's a better experience. And that's sort of the difference between wrestling with fans, with not. Even good wrestling without fans, you're still sort of eating at home. Yeah, it's good, but it just doesn't feel as lively and robust. And that's the fans are in football they say there's a 12th man. The fans are more the 12th man than the 12th man is in football.
Exactly. Was the show enjoyable? It was enjoyable because you had fans back. So, hearing the crowd go crazy, it amped you up a little bit. But, when you kind of...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
When you kind of look at it from afar, it's like, were the matches spectacular? No, they weren't spectacular, but it's just like you enjoyed it. You enjoyed it because the fans were enjoying it. So, it's good that the fans are back. I thought it was a nice way to kind of send the people home for Money in the Bank this Sunday, which we will segue into. Money in the Bank, Jeff, will be this Sunday, July 18th, the day after my birthday, in Fort Worth, Texas, at Dickies Arena. Thank you. The Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm seeing 7 matches in the pre-show match. So, let's talk about the pre-show. Pre-show will be for the SmackDown, the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships, the Mysterios versus the Usos.
I have very mixed feelings about this one, but I think the Usos.
I have a feeling it's going to be the Usos, just because, Roman's faction. And it's just funny to think about them possibly winning because Jey Uso just got his DUI a couple weeks ago. So it's just like, congratulations, exactly. Here's a championship.
Well, they did that before with the Usos, so why not again? But yeah, we have to remember it's a TV show. This is not a real athlete, so it's not like the Baltimore Ravens didn't suspend a guy under league rules. This is more like The Office let Steve Carell or whatever still act. The story is the Roman Empire. Now, maybe they'll extend it until SummerSlam, but it just feels like they want. Right now they want the Roman Empire to be leading the house shows. Ticket sales have been pretty bad in a lot of major cities. I think that they want, they want to have like a horseman thing with, all the gold, draped around their waist and, all cocky.
Right. So we got the Usos. Let's go to the main show. We got the Money in the Bank, the men's Money in the Bank match for a future World Championship. You got Ricochet, John Morrison, Riddle, Drew McIntyre, Big E, Kevin Owens, King Nakamura, as he's listed on here, and Seth Rollins.
Yeah, if you're asking me to make a pick, there's a few people that I would be very happy about. There's one that I want, and there's one that I don't want. And the one that I don't want, I think, is where WWE is going to go because that's what they do. So I'm going to pick your namesake. I think Drew McIntyre. I don't think they can help themselves.
I don't think it's going to be Drew, and I'll explain why. I think Jinder's going to come out and cost them. So I don't think it's going. I don't think it's going to be Drew. They want to continue that feud. So, I mean, good, because again, I'm a Drew supporter, but Drew needs to not be in world title matches for a while.
I agree. He needs to be freshened up. I was suggesting that you get the top 6 guys from NXT UK, fly them over, and have Drew feud with each one of them, and then work his way up to Walter and make that title mean something, and then get him back into WWE World Title contention.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be a better idea. Who was your? Okay, so you said like there was your first choice, and there was something you really didn't want to happen. What was your choice?
What I don't want to happen is Drew, and I don't think it's going to be Jinder because I think that I think that in the pay-per-views they haven't had a lot of shenanigans lately, and I think there's going to be Seth Rollins causing shenanigans in the title match. So I don't think they're going to do that here. And someone with the Money in the Bank can be in feuds with other people. So I think the Jinder will be hindering. I just don't think here. I hope the strangest thing is I hope you're right. I would love to see Ricochet with the Money in the Bank. I think even Morrison with the Money in the Bank would be funny because him and Miz are funny, but you could also do a jealousy thing where Miz thinks that Morrison was really doing it for him. I think that they could do something funny where Riddle gets it, and then Orton goes, Riddle, you're here for me. You're my proxy, so I still get it. And he's like, but you were here. No, you're me. And he could confuse him, I think. But anything that's clever, I said it last week on Hammerlock Hangover, anything that's creatively clever is just wishful thinking. So go with the obvious on WWE. Now, what is obvious WWE, which could happen, which would still make me happy, is Big E.
You know what? I was just thinking that. And, just thinking about the promo that Big E cut on Paul, talking a little bit of shit, and the crowd likes Big E. I mean, obviously.
Sure.
And that kind of plants it. Right, exactly. I mean, he's got charisma up the wazoo. And he can work. And, again, the crowd loves him. And that
promo to Paul really made me think that
it planted seeds.
Yeah. So that's my fingers crossed, because the other ones just ain't happening. But that's we know that RK Bros are in the tag team title picture coming up soon. I hope for Big E. I think for Drew, but let's just call it 52-48 at this point, as opposed to like 87-13 for 87% Drew, 13 for the field 4 weeks ago.
Right, and I want Drew to win. I mean, not Drew. I don't want Drew to win. I'm gonna preface that. I don't want Drew. I want
you to win. I want you, Drew, to win.
I want to win too, Jeff. Thank you so much. I want to win too. I'm gonna do this for you, Jeff. I'm gonna do it for the Lippy.
Thank you.
This is for the Lippy. Right. And then Vince McMahon, who the hell are you? And who's this Lippy?
I'm Bo Dallas, sir.
Bo Dallas.
Sanitation.
Bad boy, Bo Rotunda. I want Big E to win. I think he's going to win. Riddle, he can live to fight for another day, because I think him and Orton have their own thing going. Morrison, I wouldn't mind if he won, because I want Morrison to get the fuck away from the Miz and do his own thing, but that's just me. Nakamura, no. Kevin Owens, no. Ricochet, no. I mean, Ricochet's obviously going to do some big spots. So, I would say I'm kind of torn between Big E and Morrison. McIntyre is my no, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was. So, next you have the women's Money in the Bank. You have Asuka, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Ash, the superhero, Liv Morgan. Almost superhero. Liv Morgan, Zelina Vega, Natalya, and Tamina, the women's tag team champions.
I think this is Alexa Bliss's.
I don't want to. I hate this. I hate the Alexa Bliss shit. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like it. I'm surprised by how much a lot of people like it. Like, I would think this would be something that people would tear to shreds. It's fucking stupid. I hate it.
They are. People hate it. I'm the only person who likes it is me.
and Kevin. Kevin likes it for some reason. I don't know why.
Kevin likes everything WWE does. Come on.
But, I mean, it's just like, whatever. But I don't want Alexa Bliss to win. I mean, Alexa Bliss is better off as a character. She should not be wrestling. Ever. At all. Ever. In the history of ever.
She's fantastic. Everything she does is magnificent. I hope that somebody tries to steal the case and Lily is in there and they catch on fire.
Anyways, my choice.
I'm all about haunted puppets.
Jesus Christ.
Demonic toys rule.
Okay, I'll agree with you on there because I love horror. I love my horror movies. I love my demonic shit, but the Alexa Bliss shit isn't working for me. I'm sorry. I know people like it, but I don't. But my choice for winning this match, I mean, I gotta say Liv Morgan, personally, because of how they're pushing her, how she's supposed to be the underdog. I mean, you look at everybody else in this match. I mean, you said Alexa Bliss, maybe she could win it. Asuka has been on a downslide, and she technically won it last year or she did win it last year. I'm sorry. And then Becky allowed her to win it because Becky's pregnant, which, not for nothing, Becky is apparently going to be at Money in the Bank this Sunday, so it's a report.
Which gives me pause to think that maybe Asuka would win it because that would be poetic, but she's been taking so many L's and there's really no story around her. I mean, yeah, they're doing the Liv Mania thing, and actually Liv seemed to get a huge pop live, so but I think Liv and Vega are sort of going to cancel each other out. Obviously, the tag team champions aren't winning. Carmella's not winning, so Naomi's not winning. So to me, it's between Alexa and Asuka, and which one has a story now? Which one is and so you're a creepy monster, and you can cash in at any time. I mean, and you can hypnotize people. It just sort of writes itself.
Yeah, and then, of course, Nikki, the almost superhero. They're not going to give her shit. I completely
forgot that she exists.
Yeah, they're not going to give her shit. they're not going to give her shit. She's probably going to do some spots. So, I guess it's down to Alexa Bliss, and who I don't want to win, but who probably is going to win, and Liv Morgan, who I'm pulling for mainly on how she's being pushed. So, I mean, those are my two choices.
Problem with Liv is that she's not a very good wrestler.
You know what? This is where we disagree, so we can kind of keep the balance of society.
She's not terrible. She's okay. She's Carmella, but smaller.
I'll give Liv credit because she at least looks like she is trying to get better. You at least get the impression that she is trying to improve. And I know what people are going to say. It's like, well, everybody tries. It's like, yeah, but it's just like, a lot of the women in the company, they're just there to look nice and to do fancy moves. Liv at least looks like she wants to improve and get better in the ring. She does these really crazy spots where it's just like, Liv, you're hot. You don't need to do that. You just need to look like you.
She lost to -1.
Jesus Christ. That was an unsanctioned match, so it wasn't official. So, blah on your theory, Jeff. But I'll give credit to Liv where credit is due. It's just my opinion. But she's not terrible. She's not great. She's definitely not, Becky or Bayley or even Sasha, but she's passable. She's decent.
That's fine. They should not have let Ruby go. They should have let them be a tag team, and they should have let them have the tag team gold and been in that picture. They should have had a nice little women's division where the Riot Squad had the tag team titles 4 times over the next 6 years.
Exactly. But no, they gave it to Crybaby Natalya. Anywho. Next match that's on the card. I'll just start from this match and work my way up to the championship matches. Tag team match for the Raw Tag Team Championships. I don't know why this is on instead of the Usos match, but AJ Styles and Omos versus the Viking Raiders.
I don't think there's any question who's winning this one. It's Omos and AJ Styles.
Exactly. Moving on. WWE Raw Women's Championship, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair.
You know what? I was a big Rhea fan, but nothing she's doing on the main roster works. I don't know if this is her. I don't know if this is them, but whatever it is, it's not working. It's a disaster. I think Charlotte's a great wrestler. I'm not a Charlotte fan, but I think that she's probably the best female wrestler in the world. And because whatever Rhea is doing isn't working, it's almost disturbing. I think not only should they, but I think they have to. I think it's incumbent upon them to take the title off of Rhea and figure things out with her and put it back on Charlotte, who, again, is a top card heel.
Why do you think Rhea is not working on the main roster?
I think because Rhea wants to be a heel. And so she is trying to be this heel, trying to do the anything you can do, I can do better thing with Charlotte. And it's just weird. Yes, Charlotte is a better heel because she's naturally a heel. It's like Roman. She's naturally that way. It's like the Young Bucks. They're naturally douchey. That's why when they act douchey, it comes off stupid because they don't need to act it. They just don't realize that they're naturally douchey. So Rhea looks like she's faking at being a heel. Like whatever she had in NXT is gone. Whatever she was doing there that was natural is gone. And WWE is often guilty of this. They take whatever natural attribute someone has and they sort of sanitize it or morph it into something artificial. And people can sense inauthentic or transparency. It just feels wrong. There are people who can act, if they have like the Honky Tonk Man. Obviously, he wasn't the Honky Tonk Man, but it was so outrageous and he did it so well that you bought into it. The Missing Link. I mean, you knew he wasn't green and wasn't a caveman, but but it was fine. I don't know. Whatever it is, the information I have, which is pretty credible, is that Rhea wanted to be a heel. So I'm thinking it's sort of her fault.
Yeah, it's not working. It really isn't. Like, Rhea and NXT and Rhea on Raw, it's like, I don't even want to call it night and day. It's like day and night. Like, it just... Rhea should be a much bigger star, and she could. Rhea could easily be saved. Like you just said, let her be a heel. She needs to be a heel. She's working like a heel. Like, stop making her be a face. Same thing with Bianca. Bianca got a good reaction on SmackDown, but Bianca's much better as a heel. Like, I'm sorry, I don't like her as a face. You can't you can't call yourself a face and then come out and say, I'm the greatest, I'm the baddest, I'm the toughest. It's like, that sounds like a very heel thing to say, but,
Well, Bianca does that.
That's right. That's what I just said. That's what Bianca does. And it's just like Bianca needs to be a heel. Rhea needs to be a heel because Rhea looks like a heel. She comes out dressed as, this punk rock, metal, chick. And it's just like, she's a badass, but she's kind of acting like a heel. So,
well, then she should act like a badass, not like she's mocking. She should just come straight forward. She should walk like Stone Cold Steve Austin, or at least try to act like Jon Moxley, or the Sandman or something. But this isn't working, and I think she can be a face. Even Jeff Hardy was goth, and he was a face. I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, I don't even know that's that difficult. But whatever this is, it isn't working.
Right, and again, I think she can be saved. She needs a personality change. That's all. Don't change her.
Anybody can be saved.
Yeah, I mean, don't change her look or anything. Keep her look, but just change her personality. So, it's weird because I don't really care about this match, honestly. But I'm gonna go with Rhea. Keep the title on Rhea, but just change her character a little bit. That's all. Next, you have a WWE Championship match. Bobby Lashley, the champion, with MVP defending against Kofi Kingston with Xavier Woods.
I mean, You see what I'm wearing? I'm wearing the Almighty shirt. I'm always all about all things Lashley.
Exactly. Lashley's going to win, and then he's going to have to pretend to put over Goldberg at SummerSlam.
Don't even put that evil out there. Drew Yari.
It's already set in stone, dude.
No. There are things that can be saved. I mean, listen, if WWE is trying to reset and freshen things up, going to the failed playbook of the last 6 years with the stalest wrestler available is not a thing to do. And listen, that's not anti-Goldberg. He doesn't need to be in the title picture. You know what would be good for Goldberg to do? Come out, look like he's going for the title. He's marching up to Lashley. Lights go out, lights come back on, and there's the Fiend right in his way. And the Fiend is going to get his win back. There you go. There's something for Goldberg to do. Give the Fiend back his win.
I mean, that could be a good idea too, but
of course it's a good idea, but they're not going to do it because they don't do good ideas. They do bad ideas.
I mean, as long as it ends with Bobby Lashley beating Goldberg and not barely beating Goldberg, I'm fine. I liked when he said the bullshit is over, back to business, which leads me to be hopeful that there will be some reformation or reconstitution of the Hurt Business. Is it going to be with new people?
I would prefer it be with new people because, I mean, I think both Cedric and Shelton have failed alone, but I wouldn't mind Shelton being back in it because what else is he going to do? But Cedric, it's just not there.
Yeah, and again, pluck from NXT.
Sure.
Easy. Go in NXT. Pluck some new talent. That's what Vince is doing now. So
they got a bunch of big guys there that they could, they could put Parker Boudreaux, they could put the Brockenmeister kid, Odyssey Jones. They don't even need to be the great wrestlers. They can just be big guys who are there. They can just be his Haas squad.
Yeah, even better idea. So, I mean, this should be a good match, but, Lashley's going to win. There's no chance that Kofi's going to win. So, Lashley...
Rescue Mace from Retribution stink. But, he could be there, too.
I mean, put both Mace and, what the fuck's his name?
Dijak or Dijakovic?
Dijakovic.
Sure. That's okay. I'd be okay with that, because they're a pretty good tag team, but, I don't know. I know Dijakovic is a big athletic guy, but, I mean, even back to Ring of Honor days, he's just not interesting.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just saying give him something to do because, again, he's another fresh face and, he's young. He's a big hoss, so, give him something to do. I think he could benefit being in the Hurt Business.
Yeah.
But, again, you have MVP there. All you just need MVP to talk and you need Dijakovic just to go in there and kick ass. That's all you need to do.
I'd be okay with that, and I'd be very happy if they were sort of like the Roman Empire, where Dijakovic didn't go and kick ass. Dijakovic or Mace and T-Bar, whatever they call themselves at that point, they should rename them, if they kicked ass as a tag team. I mean, I would be very into them as tag team champions. And I think a feud between them and the RK Bros would be cool, because, AJ and Omos, aren't going to keep those titles for too long.
Right, or my idea that I had last year, or that I had whenever I was on Hammerlock Hangover, put Keith Lee in the Hurt Business and set that up with Lashley and Keith at maybe Mania. That could be your Mania main event, or one of many Mania main events.
I'd be all for that too. I have no idea what Keith Lee's status is.
Yeah, it's just okay. I said this, and I don't know if I'm alone on this. I probably am, but I'm kind of getting annoyed by all the tweets that he puts up.
I mean, it's just that he's not saying anything. So, I mean, I guess he doesn't want to be forgotten. Okay, right. Listen, it's sort of like the worst kept secret in the world that he had COVID twice, right. and he has lingering, heart problems, which may or may not be permanent, that he's working through. Now, hopefully he's recovered. He's just trying to, get back into shape and put muscle back on, as opposed to looking like someone who lost 70 pounds over 3 months. But I don't know if any of that is even accurate or not. I mean, I saw pictures of him in Mia Yim. Yes, he was bundled up in a sweatsuit, but he didn't look small. So I don't know. I have no idea, but yeah, at some point just say something. I mean, say what it is already. Stop being, cryptic or positive. Just say what it is already. It is a little bit irritating. And it's sort of a metaphor for him. It's like, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he cocky? Isn't he cocky? I mean, I know this is real life, but, maybe this sort of fickleness, this not indecisiveness that he shows in his character is because that's him.
Right, and it's just, I love Keith Lee. I mean, I obviously want him to come back and, be in a big spot, but it's just, I think if I'm Keith, I just don't say anything. I don't even tweet about it. I don't give implications. I just keep my mouth shut until I'm back. And then
I think there's something to that. You're right. But going back to your thing about him and the Hurt Business, I think it would also give the Hurt Business, they could have Mia Yim as a female member of the Hurt Business and put that whole thing in play in the women's division. But yeah, on the tweets, I never really thought about it, so I don't disagree with you, but it's not like I emphatically agree. I honestly, I never even gave it any thought.
Right, and it's just, that's the way you can, I mean, in a perfect world, he comes back and it says, I realize I gotta cut the bullshit and get down to business. And then that's when MVP comes out. And that's how you bring him into the Hurt Business.
Aside from Cameron Grimes, all your impersonations sound like Dusty Rhodes.
Wait, how was I talking like Dusty Rhodes?
I think that you think you sound like something else, but they all sound like Dusty Rhodes, except for Cameron Grimes. And even Cameron Grimes sounds a little like Dusty Rhodes, except for the when you do raise it up.
Let me tell you something, baby. It's gonna be huge. I gotta get down. I gotta cut down to the boat fit and get down to business.
You were just doing Dusty without the lisp before.
It's gonna be huge, baby. It's gonna be huge, baby.
That's pretty good, actually.
God damn it! I wasn't even trying to do Dusty Rhodes. I was just trying to do a regular voice, but I guess it's Dusty Rhodes.
I don't know what you know. What this advice probably goes for all of us in the podcasting world. We probably shouldn't do impressions or impersonations.
I can't help but do impressions. I'm sorry, it's in my nature. Like if I hear a distinct voice, I have to try and make fun of it. Like
I do too. I do Cameron Grimes and Evil Uno.
I can do Disco Inferno because he sounds like Marvin the Martian.
Well, that's sort of like my Evil Uno.
Hey, so Conan, we're talking about Jim Cornette and the heat that he has with Chris Jericho.
I claim Impact in the name of Mars.
I've been trying to do Brian Last, but I don't even know if it's Brian Last.
I've never heard him speak.
Well, I mean, he's a Jewish guy out of New Jersey, but he kind of has this very boisterous voice. Like, hello, Jim! Welcome to the show, Jim! I don't know about that, Jim!
I know nobody believes me, but I have never listened to the Jim Cornette podcast ever once.
Wow. Why?
I've never listened to Eric Bischoff. I've never listened to Bruce Pritchard. The only Conrad things I've ever listened to is I listened to about 6 or 7 Flair shows, and I couldn't take any more.
But, yeah, Conrad's another one that's easy to do.
I've never listened to Busted Open Radio. I've never listened to Russo.
Bro, come on, bro.
I've never listened to JD from New York.
Yeah, I don't listen to JD from New York either, so... but that's a difference.
I'm just naming big names that like everyone would think that like if you're in the podcasting game and wrestling that you definitely listen to. I've never listened to Jericho.
Yeah, I stopped listening to Jericho like wrestlers podcasts. I listen to very few because I listen to Cornette every week. Whenever his show is out, I try to make time to listen to it. I usually listen to it if I'm like doing something like playing a game or doing like yard work or if I'm in the office, I'll just put my earbud in and listen to it. But other stuff like Pritchard, I can't stand Pritchard. Bischoff,
well, I'm hanging upside down reading Beowulf when this happens.
Exactly, you're Beast from the X-Men. I'm telling you, you're Beast from the X-Men.
That's right. I'm translating Gilgamesh into Old Hebrew.
Hank McCoy, Mr. Hank McCoy, Dr. Hank McCoy,
Dr. Hank McCoy,
Dr. Hank McCoy. Yeah, and of course, I like Bischoff in small doses. I'll usually listen to just selected clips, not the whole episode. And Jericho, I don't listen anymore. Steve Austin, I stopped listening to because I couldn't bear to listen to a 45-minute monologue about him losing his keys.
Yeah, no, I listened to him about 8 times and just couldn't take him anymore either. Him and Flair sort of existed at a parallel time. I listened to them both. probably both about a half dozen, less than 10 times, and just couldn't take it anymore. He told some story about like him hurting himself in the bathtub, and it's like I just never needed to hear from him again.
What? I can't do Steve Austin right now. It's gonna hurt my throat.
Yeah, but it'll take you 6 days to recover your voice, and your voice is your fortune.
Goddamn, son.
There you go.
God, I can't. I have a cough.
It's like 20 years of smoking.
I have a slight cough, so I can't even attempt to do that voice right now.
You just did. That was dumb.
God damn it, Dr. Hank McCoy. But let's get to what I'm assuming is the main event. Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion, with Paul Heyman versus Edge for the Universal Championship.
Roman Reigns. I'll keep it short.
Yeah, Roman Reigns. I mean, this is going to end in two. I mean, it's still going to end with Edge winning. I mean, Edge losing. I'm sorry, but it's going to end. It's going to end in two ways. One, Roman's going to go over clean as a whistle, or Seth is going to get involved.
Yeah, but if Roman goes over clean as a whistle, Seth's still going to beat Edge up afterwards.
I mean, that's how you can set up their match. Seth is, doing his you lost, and then Edge beats him up, and that's how you go on to SummerSlam. It makes
more sense for Seth to get involved during the match in some way, shape, or form, because remember, Seth believes that Edge took his spot.
Right, or, after Seth loses Money in the Bank, Edge comes up and talks a little shit. It's like, oh, you came up a little bit short, did you? And then that causes, for Seth to go apeshit and, costs Edge the title. So, that is our Money in the Bank prediction show. Last bit of news as far as wrestling goes. Sheamus announced he's engaged to his girlfriend, Isabella Ravilla. She posted on her Instagram, I have the quote right here. When I was oh my god. When I was pining to go to Ireland as a young girl, I would tell people it was because if magic exists, it has to be in Ireland. Well, it does exist. Couldn't imagine a more magical place to say yes. Couldn't imagine a better person to spend my life with. Boucher Report saying while Sheamus is originally from Ireland, he and his new fiancée currently reside in Nashville, Tennessee. Sheamus is 43 years old, and he doesn't look a day over 30. So good. So good for Sheamus. Congratulations to Sheamus.
If you still remember who Sheamus is, in somewhere between 15 and 20 years, you will be hearing about his divorce.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Jeff. uh...
43-year-old man has no business marrying a 24-year-old woman.
I mean, as long as they're happy, who cares?
They're not happy.
How do you know?
Because I know a lot of 24-year-olds. They're idiots.
And who says she's 24?
That's her age, 24.
Who cares? If they're happy, they're happy.
Okay, whatever.
Age ain't nothing but a number, Jeff.
No, that's not true. It's a number that reflects the amount of wear and tear on your body, mind, and soul.
Nah, I'm going to have to disagree with you on this. I'm going to for the betterment of our society collapsing into nothingness, I'm going to have to disagree with you on this.
Well, that's fine, but you're only 31, so of course you think age is nothing but a number. You're at that perfect age in life.
My girl's actually older than me.
Terrific. That's cool. Is she 19 years older than you?
A little less than that.
Okay. Then I'm not particularly interested in that story.
Okay. It was a nice little romantic story, and then you had to whiz all over it.
You know who was really happy?
What?
Erica Jane and Tom, the lawyer from Erin Brockovich, who she was on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and she just filed for divorce. 33 years apart. You know who seems really happy? Donald Trump and Melania. They seem really happy.
Bullshit.
Exactly. Come on. She's probably a hot little thing, and he's still buff. But listen, as great a shape as he's going to be, age happens to everyone. Even Vince McMahon. You said how ridiculous he looked tonight. When Sheamus rounds the corner around 60, she will be rounding the corner looking for a 40-year-old.
Jesus Christ, Jeff.
This is the world.
Yeah, according to you. Anyways.
Okay.
Goodness. The lengths that we go to try to make sure society doesn't collapse.
That's right. Thank you. You're welcome, world.
You're welcome.
Universe, really.
Tell Jeff thank you. You better thank Jeff.
We're the real Avengers here.
Jesus Christ. Oh man, Hank McCoy and
Doctor Who.
Fuck Doctor. I'm not gonna be fucking Doctor Who. Fuck Doctor Who.
Isn't he like a time guardian?
I don't watch that bullshit.
But that's what he is.
I'll be Doctor Strange. How about that?
How about the ancient one? Since age is nothing but a number.
Don't quote me to me, okay?
Well, obviously you know how stupid it sounds now.
Not really, because I'm Doctor Strange in a sense where I'm saving the multiverse. I'm saving society from collapsing. So
that's fine.
In your face, Lippman.
So I'm the Beast, and you're Doctor Strange.
Yes, we are. Yes, I am, and yes, you are.
Okay. I can't even be Grey Hulk.
Fine, you can be Grey Hulk.
Yay!
Yay! Just make sure to ask Draper for his cardigan that he was wearing in Endgame.
Listen, I can get my own cardigans, thank you. I mean, Draper's cardigan would come down to my knees. He's like 100 feet tall.
Yes, he is a rather tall man.
Plus, he's like, I don't think he just gives cardigans away. I mean, I think he's like that commercial where they have Taylor Swift and she opens the closet and it's all cardigans. I think he like opens his closet and there's like 42 cardigans in there. He's like, yep, need those all. Like
instead of clutching his pearls, he's clutching his cardigans.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, need them all. As a matter of fact, I think it's a good time to go cardigan shopping. It's summer, sales. Ding! and I can get my 23-mile run into the last remaining mall in upstate New York.
Ugh, I couldn't imagine walking 23 miles or running 23 miles. I have a hard enough time with 5 miles, so I'll just stick to 5 miles.
I'm not sure I can still drive 23 miles.
I'm straight on that. Is there anything else worth talking about?
I'm sure there is, but I'm not sure that your audience wants to listen to it.
I don't know. If you got anything on your mind, spill it.
No, I have nothing on my mind. My mind is a blank.
All right. So,
I have had a very long week.
Yeah, sounds like it. I mean, yeah, you talked about the beginning of the show with the AC, and it's a pretty long week. I mean, it sounds like it's getting better. So.
Oh yeah, the biggest problem is that I can't sleep in that kind of heat. So I slept like 3 or 4 hours a night. And I can't even nap in it, so I can't even take my toddler naps at 6 in the evening or whatever. But now with the AC back, everything is going to be all right in the world. And looking forward to recording Garden of Doom this week. It's one of the frivolous shows where me and my panel, we review more episodes of Land of the Lost from 1975. So a nice, light, fun show with some old friends from high school, one of which is a Hollywood executive producer, so he's doing pretty well for himself. And I don't know, I may have another recording somewhere in here as well. I always have a lot of things happening, but when you're guest heavy, you get cancellations, but then you get other people who agree and they want to do it more quickly than you were planning. But since I record, it's not really a problem. It's just I just have to sort of figure it out in my head. And I also want to see Black Widow, and I also want to sleep a lot. So
yeah,
I want a double cheeseburger also.
Oh man, well I had a bacon cheeseburger earlier, and it was pretty good. But Black Widow, I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, obviously, but I enjoyed it. I know some people said they didn't. There's a few people that said they didn't like it too much. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything I saw. I even saw it twice. One in theater, one at home. And it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable for me because at the end of the day, I watch movies because I want to watch them. Because, critics can say that it's bad or it didn't do A, B, C, and D. I'll watch it and be like, I enjoyed it. It entertained me. Like, for example, I saw Fast 9. Like, I like the Fast and Furious movies. I know people think that they're garbage. But to me, it's just like, what are you going to expect from a Fast and Furious movie? Like, it's, at the end of the day, as long as it entertained me, it did its job. The director did its job.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you on that. I mean, it doesn't matter what I think of Fast 9, and it doesn't really matter that, I mean, if everybody hated Black Widow, that would be a bad sign, but that's certainly not the case. I'm hearing anything from good to very good. I heard a few people say excellent. I'm hearing blowback that there's some audience out there saying it's the best Marvel movie ever, and people say it's not. I haven't heard anyone say it's the best Marvel movie ever. I've only heard people say that they're arguing with people who are saying it's the best Marvel. So it's like one of those things where I think someone said it so that people can argue against it. But, and then there's people who don't love it, but there's some people just don't like superhero movies, or like our mutual friend Mish, who's a purist, and at some point the movies went too far away from the comics for his taste. Fine, so be it. That's okay too. But I'm more like you, that, I'm 30 years removed from reading comic books, maybe more. So I don't care. I'm not a purist about it. And even, unless it was something really core, I'm probably not going to remember the difference anyway. As long as the movie is good and it advances the storyline some or fills something in, I'm interested. I'm going to see it. I'm sure I'm going to like it, whether I think it's fantastic or just really good. Like you said, I'm going to enjoy it. I haven't seen a movie in the movie theaters for, a year and a half?
Right, and another mutual friend of ours, John Draper, said he loved it. He thought it was one of the best superhero movies he's seen. So, is it? I mean, I'll definitely say it's not the best Marvel movie, but it's entertaining. That's
the thing. Draper always had me with movies, but then he called the Zack Snyder Justice League the Godfather of superhero movies. And I think it's more like the Godfather 3 of superhero movies. So, I mean, I'm trying to shake that one off.
I love the Snyder Cut, but again, that's another conversation you and me could save for a Garden of Doom episode, or from My Lips to Your Ears episode. So we can have fun dissecting that. But I love the Snyder Cut. But again, another conversation for another show. Okay.
So, yeah, it sounds like a Drew's lips to your ears kind of thing.
But yeah, I mean, again, maybe you'll like Black Widow, maybe you won't. But Black Widow was good.
I know I'm going to like it. It's just a question of how much I like it.
I mean, and it's 2 hours even. I mean, because we're so used to Marvel movies being like 3 hours. But it's about 2 hours even, and it ends when it's supposed to end. So it makes sense. It's very A, B, C, and D as far as the plot goes.
I don't need this to be the Captain America, Civil War, or Winter Soldier of the MCU. I just want a nice little movie that explains the origin, introduces some new characters that maybe we'll see again, and I want one last run with Scarlett Johansson, though I do understand that all the timelines have been shifted, so it is somehow possible that she may emerge again, but I don't think that she signed for anything, but who knows. Anyway, whatever it is, I know I'm going to like it. It's just a question of how much I like it. So, I mean, I don't really care what the critics say, because the critics really are shills for studios at this point. So
fuck the critics. That's all I'm going to say, is just fuck the critics, because
I care more about what real people say, and real people are saying anywhere from good to fabulous. Some people are disappointed, but the people are disappointed. They either just don't like superhero movies, or like Mish, they're a purist, and somewhere along the line, this version of the story didn't fit with their, the stories that they loved, and I get that, I understand that. That's just not me. Again, the last time I read comic books regularly was probably in the mid '80s.
Right, because, going back to the critics, because I go into things with an open mind. Either I'll like it or I won't like it. At the end of the day, I watched it because I wanted to, because critics can say something is very good, and then I'll watch it and I'm like, nah. Like, this is kind of like a different example, but, shifting gears. Critics love the movie The Witch, and, they're saying it was a masterpiece in horror. And I watched it and I'm just like, this is boring. Like, something scary needs to happen. It's disturbing, but it's not scary. Like, it's boring.
It wasn't scary. It was like a psychological thriller. I could see why somebody thought it was boring, but I sort of like... I sort of like Bleak, but I saw it at home. I saw it for free, on cable. So, if I paid in the movie, it would have been different.
Right. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I love movies. I love going to the movies. I love watching movies. I mean, there's movies I like that critics think are garbage. But at the end of the day, it's just like, I don't care. As long as I like them, as long as they entertain me, as long as I walk out, happy and feeling satisfied, the director and the actors, they did their job. So, and then with Marvel, it's like you and me agree on, Marvel can do no wrong. The Church of Marvel, is something that we believe in. So, I mean, not all the movies have been great. There have been some less than stellar ones, but at the end of the day, there haven't been really any bad movies. So, I guess also because we're not purists. We don't look at things like oh no, that didn't happen in issue 1, volume 2. It's like, no, we don't really look at things that way. So,
right.
But I mean, I read comics, but I've read enough comics to kind of know a few things, but I don't get bent out of shape if something doesn't happen. Because the way I look at it, if there's like a gender change or a race change or a slight change to a character's origin, as long as it makes sense for the story and it's interesting, I won't get mad about it.
Okay.
But anyways, go ahead and plug your stuff, man.
Oh, yeah, I guess I should. Hammerlock Hangover episode just dropped today, covering This Week in Wrestling and covering my little battle with NWA and really more some fans of a particular indie wrestler and a complete misunderstanding. But I don't know, people might enjoy it. It's always fun when I get into trouble. Also, Garden of Doom, which is a non-wrestling show, but if you want a little wrestling tie-in, 2 weeks ago, episode 52, my co-host guest was PJ Black, or Justin Gabriel from the Nexus. We talked very little wrestling, but we talked a lot of other stuff, and PJ's going to be back. I don't know when, but he's going to be back, probably on a recurring basis. It's sort of like a magazine show and just where my curiosities go. So some examples, I had a show where I found an Orthodox rabbi in Israel that's actually from Mexico City, who taught me about Kabbalah. I don't know anything about Kabbalah. So, I don't know I had Cliff Dunning, the host of Earth Ancients, which is a very large sort of alternative history podcast group. So, I know stuff like that, but also my friend Mark Kramer, who's a Hollywood producer, he did a show where he explained every single role in every sort of production title, like exactly what they do in movies and sort of how the anatomy of how a movie is made and how it's run like a business, et cetera, et cetera. Like really interesting stuff that very few people know about. We've also had a couple of shows where it could save the world. We had a show that was based on permaculture, and also one on, holistic eating and holistic nutrition, things like that. So, I don't know, check it out. There's all sorts of, but there's a lot of weird stuff on there too, which is also fun. I mean, Drew's been on, Kevin Castle's been on. We talked about old school horror movies once. We talked about Bigfoot once at length. So, I don't know, try it out. Listen to, 4 or 5 episodes. I have a feeling you'll be hooked after that.
Right. Listen to him and also listen to our Patreon. It's going to be under Drew Yari. Our show is going to be called From My Lips to Your Ears. It's basically just me and Jeff, shooting the shit on things we like. We try to stay away from wrestling, but again, if there's something that we need to kind of address, then we have really no choice but to talk about it. But it's just me and him really just shooting the shit on things we like. So yeah, go and listen to it for just $5 a month. You get that show with me and Jeff. You also get a show with me and RJ, Revenge of the Savage Nerds. Same kind of concept. It's just me and RJ shooting the shit. There's a show with me and Ruben Prime where we review bad movies and also like cult movies. And also very under the radar movies. And we're also thinking about maybe reviewing franchises. So that's something we need to kind of talk about. That show is called The Worst of the Worst. Again, $5 a month gets you that kind of stuff, people. And also you can find me, Spreaker, YouTube, and pretty much anywhere podcasts are put out. And then Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Drew Yari Show. But yeah, that's the show tonight, people. Hope you enjoyed it. And you got anything to say? You got anything else to say to the people, Jeff?
Stay evil, my friends.
Stay evil, my friends. You heard Jeff. Anyways, guys, laters and peace.
Peace.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari. It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari. It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.